random. Not demon first. If I can.
But I'd like to see how many people leave during a starting soon screen that wouldn't leave if I was there, because I leave during starting soon screens, and at least 10,000 people who liked my tweet leave during starting soon screens that might stay there if you didn't leave.
No, they leave anyway. It's a natural bounce rate.
Oh, I totally disagree. There are streamers that I love watching.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm. No,
that's what I want.
Viewers are finicky.
I want that one.
Finicky. Fickle. Mm-hmm. Fickle is the word I'm looking for. Viewers are fickle. It's not that they hate your starting soon screen and they're like, I don't want to be here during a starting soon screen. It's just that they have a list of other people they follow. And they picked 3 people on the list, and they said, hey, these are all people I would enjoy watching right now. Let me start on Harris's. Oh, he's on the starting soon screen?
Never did
let me try another one. Maybe I'll come back later. And they never do.
That shows all
what you're
social
saying makes sense, but it's not reflected in the
But
numbers.
what's the advantage to having one, is my question. Because that's the point I'm missing.
Okay, so I'll answer that. So to understand this, you have to understand the premise, right? The premise is that 7 to 12 minutes is the time when your followers have reached sort of like peak notification presence, okay? So that's when a lot of people that are in your core community are going to be there. So if you make that an event, right? You've got the music going.
I mean,
you
might
come
do
in,
it when I
and it's
get
like,
more
yo,
followers.
this is Devin Nash. You guys ready? Let's go. We're doing this, right? And you make it an event. That's something the entire community can come behind, and you can create memes about this. Like one of the things that and I've tested stuff like this, right? So one of the things we were doing was at every point at the beginning of a new show, we would say today is going to be our best show yet, okay? And we would have the whole community hype that up, do memes about it. They would talk about it because at that peak moment, that 7 to 12 minute, this is when it begins. It's the same reason why musicians don't come on stage and they're like, all right, hey, what's going on, guys? What's up? Oh, hey, what's up, Jimmy in the audience? Yeah, good to see you, right? No, they come on and they're like, let's get to it. And they open up with a big-ass music thing, with a good song. People freaking launch into it. Every shaman, every storyteller, they don't just like, they make up, it's a presence. They walk in, they have an energy, and then the show begins. And that's what this is. This is a show.
Then I guess people need to be questioning something else. Is your stream a show?
Yeah, that's why I said I think it's on the broadcaster. And that's ultimately
I think the ratio of people that actually put on that level of a show versus the people that having a starting soon screen is very unbalanced. I think most streams are a person sitting there playing video games and hoping people come in and want to hang out. It's not a show. It's not a performance. It's a person sitting there hanging out with their audience. And I don't think this. I think that if anything, the starting soon screen amps them up and gets people excited about a big start of a show, and then they get let down.
But that's not an argument against starting soon screens, because we just justified why starting soon screens are good. That might be true, but that stands separate.
My
from
argument
reality.
wasn't that starting soon screens are objectively bad. My starting soon screen.
That is what your tweet kind of said, is it not?
I mean, it's 280 characters. How much can you fit in a 280 character tweet? That's the problem with tweets. Is people people assume things that people. My point is, and I said it in a second tweet. My point is maybe we should second guess the fact that it is the default. That every single person has one, but not every single person has a show. I don't have a show. This is my way to connect with my audience. This is my way to answer their questions, to hang out with them, have a good time. I'm not putting on a show. It makes no sense for me to have a starting soon screen. And I think a large majority of Twitch streamers do what I do. They make it chill, they hang out, they do something, and they have a starting soon screen, and they should question it. There are few reasons why a starting soon screen works. Even in the beginning, I even gave you an example of a starting soon screen that makes sense, which is a podcast. Something where there is a beginning, there is a show, there is something happening. Most streams aren't like a concert. People pay hundreds of dollars to go to concerts. People are just here because they want to waste time. They want to chill in a stream for a little bit. And I don't think you have the exact same impact with the starting soon screen as you have as walking out on stage.
And yet the average amount of viewers that are on Twitch are here for 110 minutes, longer than any concert of the Super Bowl. People that are here are watching, are not here to watch a little bit of content. They're here to watch a show.
But the question is, can you more aptly, I mean, how much is the starting soon screen adding to your content if all you're doing is sitting around hanging out with people? And I think it's going to hurt you more than it's helping you. You also said you proved it with data. You didn't give me any actual data on that.
I did.
You gave me data on when people show up.
No, I gave you.
But you didn't give me any data on the fact that a starting soon screen actually helps analytically more than it hurts.
Oh, sure. We never run those numbers. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be hard to do.
And
Not
I think
impossible,
with the
but-
majority of the way streams are held, with the fact that it is, nobody walks in like you don't go to a movie late. You don't filter into a movie 30 minutes late and then leave 30 minutes before it ends. That's what you do during a stream. It is meant to be filter in and filter out. And I think when you have a starting soon screen up, people filter out. And I
But
don't
not
think
meaningfully more than they do any other time during the stream.
but there's no data on that. On how many people leave during a starting soon
No,
screen.
there is data on that. There's
Oh,
data
history,
on
that's
starting streams are
yeah.
better, but there is data on that. It's real easy to do. You take your unique viewers.
I'm
at
just
that
trying to
time
see if
period,
there's a
look at
net
the bounce rate.
positive for most streamers for having a starting soon screen, and I'm not seeing it. You're trying to tell me why it's not that bad, but I haven't heard any reason why it's good
I
for
can only
the
provide-
majority of streamers.
I gave you an objective reason why it's good, but I can only provide anecdotal evidence to that end. If you want data on it, I have to crunch the numbers. Take a lot of time.
What was your reason why? And again,
Trailer
other than
map.
those specific streamers who run a show, which then in that situation I agree with you. People who run a show and actually have reason to be hyped about, I get that one. That is a minority of streamers.
There's a subjective definition to what a show is, right? So my friend Tyler,
Yeah.
Trainwrecks, he runs a show.
Yeah.
It's not what you would
Podcast
consider
is
to
a
be
show.
A production, right? Nobody would call
No,
it
I
that.
would call it a show.
But, okay.
Like
yeah,
the
'cause,
Raj Patel podcast, like that whole thing, like
That's an
that
actual
needs
show.
that needs a
Yeah.
starting soon
I'm
screen.
not talking about the Scuff podcast. I'm talking about Trainwrecks' normal stream, right?
Okay.
So Trainwrecks has an hour and a half long intro, and people will sit there the whole time, and his viewer count will gradually
That's
go up.
because he's train wrecks.
I can't do that though. If you're looking, you're asking me. You're saying I want examples of where this is good. And I'm giving it to you. They're like, it's not good enough. Like you can't do that.
But
Like,
my
if it's good,
tweet
it's
is
good.
out there. My tweet is supposed to be for the majority of people, not for the exceptions. All of my content has exceptions.
Well,
Everything.
the majority of people shouldn't stream at all.
The majority of streamers.
Where are we going? Like, we want to go down that route. Like it's like I feel like the goalposts are moving. Okay, so for the vast majority of content creators, if you have one viewer, and which is the vast majority of content creators, right? Because there's 3 million monthly broadcasters, and only 0.007% of them are above 400 viewers, which we just learned in our previous talk, right? Then sure, you shouldn't have a starting stream screen, but that's because no one's watching you, so it
One
doesn't
button.
matter if you come on or not, all right?
Oh, what? 99% of streamers also have fewer than 15. And if you have only like 3 or 4 people
29.
showing up during your starting soon screen and you lose 2 of them, that's a big deal.
Get up!
That's a
Yeah.
the difference between a conversation with a group of people and now there's 2 people sitting in there. I think a lot of people say like, oh, maybe big streamers don't need starting soon screens. I think smaller streamers are the ones who need to get rid of their starting soon screens. I think they're
100%.
losing.
I think it's
okay.
a summer
Yeah.
guy.
I think we both jumped to too many conclusions. Like that. That's the biggest issue. Is that people
So,
when they buy,
you rush
an overlay
in, and I'll
pack,
go
they buy a
behind you
starting
and
soon
tell
screen,
me.
and they see everybody else using starting soon screens, and so they put it on there, but they haven't questioned the fact that you are going to lose your select few viewers that you have.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, 100%. If you have like a 10-viewer stream and you have like an 8-minute starting soon screen and like some music and some scene changes and like a little dog that like dances around and shit, people are like, I don't have any brand and loyalty to this person, right? Like there's no reason why
Yes,
I would
exactly.
check this person. Yeah, 100%.
Nobody's going to have loyalty enough to stay through a starting soon screen unless there are 1,000 other people in there and they're excited, or maybe 500 other people in there and they're super excited about it. Like for the majority, 99% of streamers, you lose your viewers. I think Kevin, can we back up? Because I think we've been
Got 'em.
agreeing this whole time. This is what I've been trying to, like, my content is not for the exception. It's for the rule, which is
Oh.
99% of people. That's why when people ask, should I stream without a webcam? I say no. I know there are streamers who have done it. If you want to be a super creative person, you want to be better than everybody else, go for it. In this day and age, nope, sorry. Use
You
a
know
webcam.
that on average, the people that don't have webcams have more viewers than the people that do.
That feels like a very,
It's 100% true.
I believe
I
it.
agree.
We ran
I
a
believe
direct
it.
study on this and they're doing that.
I believe it, but I feel like there are more. It's like the whole, what's the viewer to streamer ratio kind of thing.
yeah,
We're like,
there's-
that's
it is
one
that-
statistic that I don't think explains the whole
Because the
situation.
statistic doesn't tell the story.
Don't
Yeah,
get
you're
us cut
100%
off.
right, and that's because the amount of people that have no webcams are weighted as the higher viewers.
Like Lyric, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. That is why.
I had a lot of people tweet at me say, of course it's
Yeah,
easy for
on
you
him.
as a big streamer not to have a
Yeah,
starting soon
yeah.
screen. I think big streamers are the only ones that it makes
Yeah.
sense to have a starting soon screen.
Yeah.
People are excited to watch Summit. They want to watch his intro video. They want to be there while he's there. If you have 15 viewers, nobody's going to stick around during your starting soon screen. They're going to leave. And that's your notification squad. Those should be your most precious viewers that you take care of and make them feel rewarded for showing up early. I don't think there's anything a starting student stream can benefit that can replace that.
I agree.
Okay.
I'm 100% down with that.
Okay,
yeah.
we're on the...
Yeah.
Man, we went on a long path on that one to come to the same spot.
I think that the difference is that I'm usually I think that we nailed it at the end. Like it's like I'm usually considering the part of Twitch which is visible, which is typically the 1%, right? But when you're speaking to the majority, there's a totally different. Like if I know that every conversation you and I are going to have is speaking to the majority of content creators, I will sound completely different. Literally, there's almost nothing you can learn from a big streamer if you're a small content creator. And the reason for that is because if you are a 7,000 viewer broadcaster, you got to do stuff differently than a person that's a 1 viewer broadcaster.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We would have the most interesting marriage.
What?
We would. We would be such an interesting couple, just like sitting in our little, lounge chairs, bickering about stuff.
Listen,
Finally, in
I'm
the
just
end,
saying,
realizing we actually agreed with each other.
I'm just saying, like, if you're getting a little bit bored, and I'm kind of down, dude. Like, you're a very handsome young man, and I would entertain.
Thanks for the follow, games for 101. What's up? Trying to get the battle pass thingy.
It's like a known cardinal sin for creators to actually show how much they make, but I would actually really like to make a video on exactly how much I make, but that's a really scary video to make, so if you'd like to see me do it anyway, I'd be happy to. All right. I guess we're doing this. Ever since the drop of Stream Beats last week, copyright-free lo-fi beats for streamers, by the way, available on almost every single streaming service, link in the description below. But ever since that launched, I've gotten a lot of questions from you guys about monetization and running your stream like a business. And I've been more open about my personal income than most people have recommended I be. So I've decided to take a step back and take the more responsible approach and just literally tell you everything. Wish me luck. In this video, I will tell you literally exactly how much I make, where that money comes from, and why I believe I tend to make more money than most people my size on Twitch. And hopefully I don't lose any of you guys in the process. Why is that, by the way? Honestly, why do you think people get upset when they find out how much money content creators make? Be honest. Yeah, I'd actually really like to hear your opinion. My theory on this is that YouTubers, content creators, are just in general more relatable than like TV personalities. And when you find out that a YouTuber makes a good chunk of money, I think it kind of ruins that relatability a little bit. Just a theory. I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
You guys, do you play Doom?
Before we start this video on monetization, I'd like to monetize it with saying thank you to our sponsor, Owned.tv. Owned is your one-stop shop for all your stream aesthetic needs, from overlays to panels to alerts. Really just all plus all the overlays are modular, so if you and all your friends pick up the same overlay called Good Vibes that you're looking at right now, none of you are going to have the exact same looking stream, because you can pick different camera borders, different elements, fits your stream needs, and make it look the way you want. So if you'd like to make a smart move like many from the community have done, feel free to jump over to own.tv and pick something up. Make sure you use the link in the description below. That will support the channel. Also, if you want 40% off, make sure you use code ALPHA at checkout. And also, one more reminder, I do stream every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. So if during this video you have questions maybe I didn't answer, feel free to jump in there. And let's talk.
Yeah, sorry, I'll probably set it
that any streamer can go through. We'll call them Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, just for simplicity. Understanding these 3 tiers and how they work, especially understanding the top tier, gives you a little bit of a sense of like a path to walk. It really helps you understand how creators can turn their tiny little channel into a staple in the industry, like, for example, Rooster Teeth. And while YouTubers have been accomplishing this for years, streaming is still relatively new enough that very few streamers understand what can be accomplished, or that this is even possible. I'd say really the only streamer that is like fully broken into Tier 3 is probably Ninja. Seriously, that's it. But let's start with Tier 1. Tier 1 monetization is where all the income, all the revenues are self-contained to the streaming platform itself. By the way, we're going to use Twitch as an example here, but just know this applies to any streaming platform. All the money you make in Tier 1 comes from being live, or income that happens while you're live. You've got people giving you money with subs, bits, and donations. You've got some merchandise that people can buy. We can even consider Patreon and OnlyFans in this group. Slightly different kind of merch, but still merchandising on the
Yeah.
same. And then lastly, sponsorships on your stream. These 3 ways are the way 99% of streamers make 100% of their revenue. And it's crazy how much this income can vary, not only from streamer to streamer, but from month to month. There was one month when Ninja had like 600,000 subscribers. That was when that month that he streamed with Drake. Keep in mind, subscriptions are $5 a month, and that number is split between the streamer and Twitch. You guys know most of this. Given how many subs Ninja had that month, and attaching bits and donations to it, I mean, he probably made over 2, maybe 3 million that month just on this form alone. Sticking in tier 1 of monetization is incredibly volatile, and it makes you afraid to leave home to not stream. I know big streamers who intentionally missed TwitchCon last year because they were afraid to stop streaming and lose that revenue. These streamers, even though they're large streamers, are still monetizing.
You get a lot of sparks from streaming.
A well enough known like full-time streamer who maybe has like between 500 and 1,000 average viewers will usually have between maybe 1,000 and 2,000 subscribers. Usually the money within tier 1 here is like 60 to 80% subs. So if we do some quick maths, we're talking about maybe $5,000 a month for a full-time, well-known streamer. And the reason that in tier 1 merch and sponsorships don't do very well is because, one, most streamers in this area only have self-branded merch, where it's just like their logo on a shirt, and only like the hardcore true fans who want to like wear someone's face on their chest are going to buy it. And sponsorships on Twitch alone, they just don't pay out that much. You don't have quite the impact with an ad on Twitch that you can have on YouTube. And this is because you're streaming for 8 hours on end, where you're going to do push something every 30 minutes. And even then, a lot of people miss the ad, whereas on YouTube, like
YouTube
every single person who's gotten here so far saw the ad for stream designs. You just have a much more targeted approach to ads on YouTube than you do on Twitch. Anyway, let's move on to tier 2 here. I feel like I spent way too much time on tier 1. Tier 2 is when streamers branch out to other avenues of monetization on the internet. I'd say the most common one of these is when big streamers like Shroud or Choco Taco hire an editor who takes their streams, finds the best highlighted maybe 10 to 20 minutes of it, and uploads it to YouTube with a thumbnail. These are hit and miss. I've seen medium-sized streamers who can't get more than 300 views a video, whereas you get people like Shroud who, within a day, every single video gets 500,000 views, and that is a ton of monetization. Diversifying your content like this to multiple platforms does
I need to make YouTube videos.
One, it just diversifies your income. Let's say one month you get a much smaller amount of subs. It happens sometimes. That generally doesn't have any impact on the amount of people that watch your YouTube videos, and your ad revenue will stay exactly the same. So one of your revenues dips, maybe you have 3 or 4 set up on other platforms, and you're still making pretty much the same amount. The other thing that this does, though, is it opens up doors for better sponsorships. If you have audience on multiple different platforms with different styles of content, sponsors are going to be able to get much more targeted. They're going to say, we want to hit the YouTube audience, we want to hit the TikTok audience. Essentially, the ad will have a much larger influence on the audience, and your revenue will change from, in tier 1, maybe being a couple $100 for putting a logo on your stream, to $10,000 to $20,000 for a YouTube ad. An example of someone who takes tier 2 to the next level is a streamer like Wacky Jack, who, by the way, not only just streams super regularly, but also uploads nearly daily content. And this isn't just content ripped from his Twitch channel and edited for YouTube. I'm talking original YouTube content. Doing this not only provides you a large amount of extra income, but it also it adds to your credibility on Twitch, which is why Wacky Jackie streams for like over 1,000 people. If you're going to be in tier 2, I recommend you be like Wacky. But let's talk about tier 3, because this is where things get a little bit tricky, and this is where things get a little more fun. This is where streamers outgrow simple content creation and start to turn it into an actual business. For example, I mentioned Rooster Teeth earlier, who took the success of Red vs. Blue, which, by the way, I'm aware, predates YouTube, but took the success of that single series and built an entire entertainment empire off of it. Multiple channels, production companies, whole teams doing just a bajillion things. Nate Shot's another great example, a professional gamer / really popular YouTuber who, instead of just continuing to make YouTube videos, has built an entire gaming org, 100 Thieves, and is you've seen where he's gone with it. Let's do the fun stuff now, and let's see where I fit in all this. And just an important preface, by the way, the reason I'm sharing this private info about my income is because last week I did a video on multiple ways that streamers could monetize properly like a business rather than just begging their viewers for money, and felt like if I really wanted to put my money where my mouth is and actually be of real help to you guys, even if it meant adding a little bit of risk to myself, sharing this kind of info with you guys could actually do a lot of good. At least I hope that's the case. We'll see. So let's start with my tier 1. I stream 3 days a week. I average 400 to 500 viewers right now, and at this moment I have 2,557 subs. This number is especially high for the amount of viewers I have on average. I've even had phone calls with Twitch where they've asked why that number is so high. I attribute it to this YouTube channel where my viewers feel like I provide them a lot of value for free.
Yeah, this
and
is
in turn, that makes them
this is
want
awesome.
to come to the
This
Twitch
is
channel
definitely
and
the best
subscribe
game
to return the favor. It's always been kind of a fun business tug of war kind of thing for me where, and maybe this is
multiplayer.
the
It's
pride
a lot different.
in me speaking,
It's
but in order for me to
actually,
not
I'd say
feel
it's
like
the
I'm
best
just a complete
symmetrical,
freeloader from this sub
multiplayer.
money, I do everything I can to make sure I'm
Other than
providing more
Dying
value
Light's
for
pretty
you
good, too.
than what I receive on
Pretty sick.
Twitch. Does that make sense? For
Dying
example, in the
Light's
past 30 days, I have
Yeah, I
made
know, right?
$10,500. And so the
Multiplayer
question
is
I have
really
to ask
hard.
myself is,
Slayer is
am
like
I
1 out of
providing
2.
at least $11,000 of value to my audience? And if the answer is no,
Yeah.
then I've got work to do and I need to
gotta
add
heal.
something to it. And that's my
I
tier
didn't
1
know.
income. And that fluctuates on a normal month from $8,000 to
It's 1 on
I think
2.
I've hit
I
like
mean, it's a lot
$12,000
harder.
one month. I don't
But
have
you
any merch
have a
set
lot
up yet,
more,
but I will have a
you
Stream
can heal
Elements merch store
yourself,
coming
so-
soon, and I don't actually have
You
any
can get
sponsors on my
armor.
Twitch channel. All right, my tier 2 stuff is where things start to get fun. Let's talk about outer sources
that's
of
always
revenue
pretty
outside
nice.
of Twitch and how much I make off those. Because $10,000 a month is an incredible number. I could live incredibly comfortably on 10K a month. But I have had months where I've been out of town for a lot of it, say for example the holidays, and that number has dropped down to half of that, which is why I've set these up so that Twitch is actually less than half of my monthly revenue. So let's talk about YouTube. In the last 4 weeks, the YouTube channel has reached 1.1 million
7.
views and has generated $4,500 in ad revenue. And while yes, that's only half
Yeah, it
of
is
what my
hard.
Twitch channel makes,
Especially
my
as a
YouTube channel is
player,
incredibly
because you're-
marketable, and sponsorships are worth quite a lot. And I
I
would say
have
that's because of a
2
combination of
demons
2
to worry
things.
about. They're 2
One,
players.
you guys come to this channel for advice, not just entertainment. Which means if I say, hey, I really like this product, you're more likely to actually go out and buy it. Which brings me to number 2, I'm incredibly picky with the companies that I do sponsorships with. I've never given a biased review just because someone paid me for it. I turn down a lot of well-paying but iffy sponsorships because that trust between me and you is incredibly valuable. And while I can't talk specifically about how much any individual sponsorship has made me, I can say on a normal month, I will probably make about $5,000 in sponsorship revenue. On a good month, or maybe I have a couple of them lined up, it can get up to $20,000. Also of importance, I focus on 3 main social media platforms right now: Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. Often what I'll do is I will bundle those together to
Thanks for the
again
follow.
increase the value of a
Look at that.
sponsorship. Whether that means adding a tweet to a sponsorship because my Twitter engagement
Yeah,
is
are you
very
gonna
high.
get Doom
Or,
Eternal?
a lot
I
of
would
advertisers
recommend
also
it.
know that if I post a video on something, I'll
fine.
often talk about it a lot in the next couple streams, and mentioning that also increases the rate in general. Another big revenue maker for me is Amazon Associates.
Do you
links.
stream
So
on
if I ever
Twitch,
do a video
Loki?
review on a product, or I talk about a build, or anything where I have links to the products down below, they are Amazon affiliate links. Sorry, Amazon associate links. I don't like that they call it associates. I have to think about it every
Yeah.
time I say it. But depending on what the product is that you purchase, I can make anywhere from 2%
What do you usually stream?
on a product to even up to 10% on whatever you buy. I've also created bundles on a website called kit.co. Those are also linked in the description down below. There's a beginning streamer bundle, an advanced streamer bundle, and then my personal streaming rig bundle. I think just about any device in these kits are Amazon links, and I am pretty sure that I have like one of the most viewed kit accounts. Every single one of these bundles has over 500,000 views. One of them is like reaching 1 million, I think. I haven't looked at it in a while. But I will make anywhere from 4,500 to 6,000 a month on these Amazon links. Great, that's the majority of it so far. Let's get into tier 3 stuff. The thing with tier 3 that makes it different than 1 and 2, you can start at tier 2 if you want. It's a lot of work. That's what I did. I started on both
I do
YouTube and
variety
Twitch at the
too,
same
but
time,
I
and it's
kind of
honestly what I
stay to a
attribute to my
certain niche,
incredibly fast
like
Twitch growth too.
mostly
But tier 3
ARPGs.
as a content creator often doesn't
And
work
then
until you have the validity of
I-
success. 100 Thieves would have
I
just been
make
another
a
tiny
video
org that you see
on
all over the
YouTube
place
out
if
of what
Nate
I-
hadn't put in the time and become a very
I'm
successful
getting to
content
where I can
creator.
make a
And Rooster Teeth
video
would be
out
absolutely
of
nothing
what I
about Red versus
streamed,
Blue.
and
But
then
a
use
mistake
that
that a lot of people
footage,
make when they try to
and then
transition
also
into tier 3
stream the
to
editing
business
process,
ownership
that
roles,
way
they
I can
leave behind tier
potentially
1 and tier
have,
2. They think that it's
you know,
tier
extra
1, tier
viewership
2,
engagement,
tier 3,
something
like
like
stepping
that.
stones. You move from one to the
Why
next.
not? Like,
When in
you
reality,
can do it.
it's
I
tier
don't know if
1,
you can
tier
do
2,
that.
tier 3.
Red
Each
team
one
and,
expands upon the prior tiers, and it still encompasses
Depends
those.
on-
I mean, Red vs. Blue, as far as I know, is still going in its like 17th season, and Nate Shot is still making just as much content as ever. And being real, if he stopped
Yeah, you
one
get in
day,
there, I'll cover
100
you.
Thieves would suffer. Now, I'm not quite at a place where I can do something of the scale of 100 Thieves. Keep in mind, Nate Shot had like 2 to 3 million subscribers when he started that. I still have quite a ways to grow. However, my content on this YouTube channel has been all about explaining to you guys streaming solutions, whether it's PC parts, social media strategies, whatever. And so I decided to release a solution of my own that I felt was incredibly important and missing in the market.
That was a
And
perfect
last week,
opportunity to use that.
I released StreamBeats. I saw a very serious need for easy and free music that streamers could play on their stream without having any fear of copyright strikes. So I found a producer. We made 180 tracks. 120 of them are live right now, with 60 more coming out the next week or two. They're on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, literally everywhere. Links in the description down below. And I'm even currently working on talking with Twitch and Facebook, all these companies, making sure that if you use them, your VODs won't even get muted. That, however, is incredibly time-consuming. Not quite there yet. And from a business standpoint, it's been incredible.
Yeah,
you guys
I
get
play
free,
Apex. I'm
easy,
really
copyright-free
bad.
music
Else.
on a streaming service that you're already
my
paying
thing.
for. And while you're using it in the background of your streams, I'm
good
making
at, like,
streaming royalties. And while I won't get the exact numbers of how much I'll make off this for, like,
What do you
I think
call
a
a
couple
non-battle
months,
royale?
we can use the information on the internet to make some estimates. So today, StreamBeats got about 150,000
match-based
plays
shooter?
across all platforms. If you kind of average out what all the different platforms pay per play, while putting a little bit more emphasis on Spotify, because 70% of my audience is on Spotify, I will make about a half of a penny per play, which would make me about $750 a day. And if you multiply that by 30, that makes about $22,500 a month. And that's assuming that the numbers stay relatively the same. The numbers have been growing substantially every day, so it could be way more than that. You guys could just decide tomorrow you all hate it, and it could be way less than that. Which means that
I mean, it
adding
does look like
everything
a
up,
lot of fun.
the lowest
I like
I
how
generally
it,
make in a month is like
it uses the same guns as Titanfall 2.
44,000, and the highest I can make
It's
is
like
up
a
to like
spin-off.
65,000 right now.
I really
And
want
yeah, there
Titanfall
goes all my
to
Twitch
come out.
subs. That was fun.
But
I genuinely hope this
Maybe,
is of some value to you and this helps you out, because
Yeah,
if not, I'm gonna look like one of those guys in those
Have
YouTube ads who's like, I made $2 million in passive income this last year. Order my book and find out how I did it. I don't want to be that guy. I'm not trying to be that guy. But if you guys do have more questions about this, again, feel free to jump into my chat. We can talk about it. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Link in the description down below. Or if you want to brainstorm more ways to make revenue, there are over 40,000 people in our Discord, all trying to turn streaming into a career. Jump in there, brainstorm with some people, make some friends. Link to that in the description below as well. And guys, as always, happy streaming. Please don't unsubscribe. No freaking way! No! That was the most amazing thing ever.
no, 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 no. What? Fuck. No. How much longer?
You know, people that will do that. I don't have a digital marketer, right?
Shit.
So like, that's an example of like how
radiation.
much different it is. And I think it's
There
really
we go.
similar. I've actually never made this analogy
Fuck!
before, but I think it's very similar when you're a
I'm good.
broadcaster. When you're trying to grow from 0 to 10 viewers, you need to put your hands in the mud and get into the weeds. And like one of the ways you can do that is to go into chats and like, because every single viewer increases your broadcast size by like 100%.
Yeah.
And there's a concept that Gary Vaynerchuk, I think, who's a really prominent marketer, he sort of like pioneered. It's called 1 is greater than 0. Do you know what it is?
I don't know that specifically, but I do know who Gary Vaynerchuk is.
Fuck,
So
that was
1 is
good.
greater than 0 is like,
Damn.
if somebody invites me out right now for a podcast to 50 viewers, right?
Mutators, Ravenfield,
So a good
yeah.
example would be like
Ravenfield.
there's a podcast. The last podcast that I took that I think was like that was
It is, yeah,
It was a Rainbow Six podcast called
They have
I think it's
Ultra
called
Nightmare
Breach or
mode
something.
where
And it was really good. It was, like I really
only have
enjoyed
one
being there with
life
the guys.
campaign.
And Hot Breach is what it was. It wasn't to like that many viewers. I went and I took it because even if I get to 50 more people, right? That's 50 more people than I had before. And so like once you're like XQC size or something like that, it might be like hard to think like that, where it's like, okay, like but the truth is like you should always think on that 1 is greater than 0 concept, because you never know who those 50 people are going to be. One of those people might be like a YouTuber that then, like, a good example of this is when I did the Tifu video for YouTube, it actually spawned a collab with a guy who put me in his video, a guy named the Fortnite guy. And the video got like 500K views, and like a ton of people were at least impressed upon my brand as a result of that. So like, you never know. It's like, what if the 50 people in that podcast are actually all marketing directors, and they're all people that can take you to the next level? You need to, and this is another reason why I respond, even though it takes an enormous amount of time, I respond to every single person.
Get into them. Get on them.
Like with something, like thank you, like I really appreciate it. Like I respond to every single person. And it's because I really do believe in this concept of like, have you ever, so there's a book you can read. Do you read books? Are you that kind of guy?
I should. I'm such an incredibly slow reader, and like probably have like not actual ADD, but like I get distracted easily, so it's like hard for me to actually read books.
You do like audiobooks or whatever, like at
all? No, it's like basically once a year I'll read a book.
Some of the Slayers in this game are really good.
I would
go like I want to read, but
I would look into a book called Thank You Economy. I think if most people read Thank You Economy, it's going to be like the book that grows small content creators. I think it's an extremely important book to read for like what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, but like if you don't get to it, then like tactically just changing your YouTube the way we described it will change your life.
Yeah.
Completely.
Still like,
yeah.
I'm thinking right now like I've grown much more than I expected to.
Sure. Yeah.
And in the time that I have, so I'm like I need to figure out what exactly goals and what like metrics I'm trying to like go through next, and what's like a reasonable timeline for it. Because like I was expecting this, like I thought if I was lucky I'll get this by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm already there. So I'm not exactly sure where to move. Like right now, I'm still just working. I've been streaming every day since like September 22nd, essentially. I know one of the things I could do to grow is just stream longer. Like most of my streams are like around 4 to 5ish hours, like maximum.
Nice.
Like sometimes even like 3 hours on some like bad days. But I'm streaming literally every single day, like 7 days a week. But I try to stream like around 4ish hours so I don't get burnt out doing that.
I don't think that's right. I'm a very big opponent to streaming longer hours for a lot of reasons. One is I think that your quality goes down a lot when you stream longer hours, no matter who you are. And number two is I think that, well, just this is coming, and you have to like take this with a grain of salt. You may just be like, fuck this guy, I'm gonna do 8 hours anyway, whatever. Like that's still your prerogative. But like, just like where I'm at with it is, I think you can think about how you do your content. You can do your content more intelligently, and then you can get exponentially more successful than if you're just streaming longer hours. And I'm gonna be frank with you, I really do believe that the reason why people just stream long hours is they're just fucking lazy. It's super easy to hit the start streaming button and play video games. But like, what's hard is like, this is why I'm like a very big fan of like Hot Chubby, right? Or like people that do this. It's like, Hot Chubby comes to a show with an idea of what that show is going to be. When I come to a show, I know what I'm going to talk about, and I prep my show. So you don't need to do that for your whole stream, but if you know going into your stream that today you're going to be talking about Sultai mid-range and why it's good for at least an hour, the quality of your broadcast is going to go up a lot. The work you're going to do for your broadcast is going to go up a lot too, but if you want success, you have to be an anomaly. You have to do something different than other people are doing.
Okay. Yeah, it's just very interesting. There's like one of the reasons I was streaming every day was I realized there was a time slot that I actually don't think is effective anymore as much as it used to be. There's a time slot between some of the biggest streamers that were streaming the category. It was like 11 a.m. to around 4 p.m. PST. Thought to myself, okay, there's a gap here between like the biggest streamer basically on the category is like 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. So it's like I can stream basically either in this little category 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. But I don't really get like, I can't really do an 8-hour stream because I saw after around 3 to 4 p.m. my viewership would essentially half once the bigger streamer got on.
Okay.
So, so I was cutting myself down to that, but it's like, I want to put in like 30, 40 hours a week, so it's just, I kind of have to do it every day.
So the best time to stream on Twitch, objectively, is 6 a.m. PST to 12 p.m. PST, period.
Yeah.
You have a couple of unique considerations because of your category. So, DeathZ streams nights.
Yes.
And he's one of the largest Magic streamers. 5 p.m. to or 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. is usually day 9, and he's the largest Magic streamer at that time.
Yeah.
I would never stream 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. during that time slot. I think that is suicide.
Yeah.
I would stream either at and you're talking to a guy that actually built his stream on the 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. time slot. Like that was actually when I used to play League of Legends, that's where I actually built my broadcast from. So I think there's actually strength in that, but it's a little bit unique because of DeathZ. That said, the whole thinking about this is a little bit iffy because you are thinking about competing on Twitch instead of pulling your viewers from other places. Because and I'm telling you, if you are going to compete 1-to-1, punch for punch on Twitch, you're going to lose. You're not going to make it. Like, Twitch doesn't have the discoverability, the algorithm, or the wherewithal to support a broadcaster up to the numbers that you want. Every single broadcaster that's on the platform in Magic built it somewhere else, right? Day 9 built it through years of making content, over 7,000 videos created. StarCraft, right? DeathZ built it through YouTube, built it through his pro career, built it through Hearthstone, right? So Ben, we can go down the list of everybody in the Magic category, right? Has a podcast, has limited resources, right? We can go down it. So the theme here is you need to pay way more attention to what these guys are actually doing outside of streaming, because streaming is their side hustle compared to where they're actually gathering their viewers from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I've been doing like a little bit of just specific for YouTube content, and I've found it like it's much more like in depth because every weekend there's like big tournaments online to play, and I usually go like, okay, here's what I'm gonna play in these tournaments. These are why I decided to do this. And in the beginning, the videos were getting like significantly less viewership than just like hour and a half VODs, basically me just playing.
Yeah.
And then I was doing it for a while, like for about a month now, and then the viewership on those videos actually like increased over a bit after I was posting them to Twitter, I was posting them to certain Facebook groups, and going like, okay, like if you're wondering what to play this weekend, this is what it is. It's kind of hard to find because it's like 30 videos of just like gameplay and like one video that's like 10 minutes of me talking. But
I think if you just look at even your own content, look at this video. Okay, so they're basically posted around the same time. Will this deck get Treasure Cruise banned in Pioneer? Versus is Jeskai Ascendancy still best friends with Emery? One did 5 times better than the other.
yeah,
Because you typed in all caps, banned in Pioneer. Will this deck get banned in Pioneer? Is really interesting to people that play Magic. It's still very specific to people that play Magic, right? But here's another video. So we say Modern and Vintage Challenge 11 to 2019, right? Again, another uninteresting title. Go over here. Sultai is the best deck in Pioneer! Exclamation mark. Literally 3 times the views. You see a trend here, right?
Yeah.
What's happening is you need to think a lot about your narrative. You understand what I mean by narrative?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like the way you tell your story. Were you online to hear my story about the Courage video?
I don't think I was online. I ended up watching around half of the video actually before
Thank
I
you.
started the talk.
Yeah, so last night I was up till 3 in the morning thinking about this title, okay? And the title of the video that I was going to go with was why Courage leaving Twitch will change reveals the future of streaming, okay? And that was the title I was going to go with. And then one of my friends who is a really astute YouTuber, Gaming Curios, came in and said,
Ooh, I haven't played this map yet.
Make it
I
why
have.
Courage leaving Twitch will change everything. And I actually thought that this was going to be too vague for people to attach to. Because the theme of the video is about why I suspect YouTube will dominate in the next 2 to 5 years.
Cool.
And it's a good video to that end. So the first title reveals the future of streaming.
Oh, yeah.
Basically tells that story.
Ain't another flying guy.
The second title tells a less
Like some kind of robot, flying robot.
a less like, I would say, specific story. It's much more vague. But as a result, the growth rate for the video was 934% more in the first 2 hours than any other video we've ever created. So what it shows you, the lesson here, right, is that it's two things. One, if you have gone down and thought that you are doing the stupidest possible content possible, make it even stupider, and it will do better. Secondly, there is really no limit.
Got him!
Like,
Get him!
how you frame your story, right, is so much more important than anything else. And I'm at the point now where I will spend at least as much time thinking about the way that I frame content than I will the actual content.
Yeah. I do somewhat think that especially with certain videos and streams and stuff.
If you remember where that's from,
you're is like a lot less important than like how you actually show yourself, present, as well as like what you have.
Your number one KPI needs to be like go into Adobe Spark, learn how to make like a halfway decent thumbnail, paste a picture of a card on it. If it's Soul Type, post a picture of green blue. If it's Azorius, post a picture of like a white and blue mana card and like a griffin or something. And and then you are already experimenting with titles. I think this is really good. You could have said Sultai is the best deck in Pioneer, and I would say the most useful thing that we went over was when I said like 100% win rate Sultai deck crushes Pioneer full guide. Literally, write this YouTube title, do a halfway decent shit thumbnail, and see what happens.
Yeah. I've actually had people in like real life tell me they were looking for certain videos on Magic. They're like, they saw my videos. They're just like, that title is just like, it got his all caps, showed in like the top thing. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. So I tried to do more like, you can see like if you go lower, there's not like any all caps, and slowly more videos are like all caps, exclamation points, like, is this broken? Not like trying to be like actually descriptive of the video necessarily.
Yep.
Because I like thought for a long time to myself, I was just like, oh, I don't want to play the game just like trying to get clicks, trying to do this and like trying to get
how you have to look at it, okay? I will literally
Cut 'em
provide
off.
you
Push
so
'em
much
out.
value that
There you
it is literally to your benefit that I trick you to click on my video. All right, like if I trick you to click on my video, you will get so much out of it that it's to your benefit. I will literally waterboard you in a video game to watch my video because you will get so much benefit out of it. That's how you need to think about your content.
Yeah. I came over the hump and went like, okay, I should be doing this so that like more people can actually see my content, because just like doing like the regular plain Jane YouTube titles with no thumbnails is going to be just like really slow growing, hard to find type of content, whereas just
Good. Get him.
It's also like the other way I do this is like it's the same mental gymnastics I use to sell people products. It's like you will pay me $50 for this person's
Block it.
because it will not be worth it to you if I give it to you for free. And I'll tell you, dude, like the number one problem that I think I run into when I coach young entrepreneurs is they just don't think, they're just not willing to like actually put themselves out there. So you know what the number one problem is for entrepreneurs that are like bookkeepers or they're doing some kind of single service for someone? They undercharge. They're like, my time is worth like $25 an hour. when their time is easily worth 50 to 100 for people that are doing way better work for like way worse work, excuse me, and they're charging like 4 or 5 times more. So like you can go to like a bookkeeping firm, and you can pay, $100 an hour for bookkeeping, and then there's like a college student that's doing it, but really knows what they're doing, and they charge $25 an hour because they think they're just not good enough. They don't believe in themselves.
Icon.
But the truth is, they could triple their prices and they would be fine. In fact, they would get more clients because people would see their work as premium, and then they would be able. So do you know what happened when I increased my consulting rates? My consulting rate used to be $100 an hour, and then I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go to $500 an hour. Not because I thought I was good enough. I actually still didn't. But because I didn't want to do it, and I got more clients. I got way more clients. I because in a crazy way, like people look at it and they say, fuck, like that's something that is like a premium. I want to pay for that. I literally have people in my email like down. I can't do all the consulting that I want to do.
Yeah. I know how you previously talked on one of your streams about like Patreon for streamers and YouTubers, and on Twitter there's a lot of like hugely in-depth guides for certain decks made by Magic players completely free. And then I see there are people that have these Patreons that are like giving significantly worse content,
you still there?
but have people paying a lot more for it.
Yeah.
And I was just
most people are doing a really shitty job at everything.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I still kind of deal with this dilemma of just, I've heard people go like, oh, if you made a Patreon for this, or like paid money for this guide for this deck, I would pay for it.
Yeah.
I have a dilemma of just like, I know people are doing a much better job than I could even do, or the amount of time I'd put in for completely free. So why should I do this paid thing when I know people are willing to do it for free?
But you don't get to decide what the market does. Like that's the thing. It's like you're treating the market like it's like your thing, but it's not. It's its own thing. Like if people are gonna pay for something that's like, then like it's up to you to like capitalize on that. Like as far as I'm concerned, like dude, I basically just waltzed into the Twitch analytics space. I waltzed in to like the marketing space of like there was nobody covering marketing content on Twitch of like why do people do what they do, and like how does the gaming industry work? Like why does it actually work? What's going on? Like how do the back end systems work? I literally just walked in here and I was like, and people were like, oh, what do I do, Devin? And I'm like, I don't know, make YouTube videos or some shit. And now I'm like fucking this. Like what the fuck happened? I'm not even good at this, right? But I'm better than anyone else because I just tried to focus on it. You can do the same thing for like building decks, like whatever. Like you like there's I think you take somebody and you go, okay, I want to do that even better, and the very act of thinking about that like puts you ahead of the game.
Damn.
Okay. It's just I kind of had the moral dilemma of thinking I know that if someone's doing this for free, should I like?
So here's how I get around moral dilemmas. Okay.
Yeah.
Every product or service I offer has a 100% money back guarantee. Don't like it, I'll give you money back. No questions asked. Just send me an email or whatever. Every single thing that I ever do in my life has that. No matter what a company that I'm associated with, no matter what. Like at CLG, every single product that we had a 100% money back guarantee. I don't think anybody ever. I think somebody did at one time email us for it. But so here's the deal. I'm not gonna try to do like I could go through like a really big convincing argument as to why you shouldn't have that moral system. It's a pain in my ass and I don't want to do it. So I'll tell you like right now, I'll tell you right now, offer 100% money back guarantee, make it actually like apparent, put it right there and be like, hey, if my product didn't actually provide you value, if the deck list didn't actually provide you value, you feel like you didn't get something out of it, send me an email, literally no questions asked, I will pay you back right away. And then actually do it. Stand by your shit, dude. If your shit's good, stand by it. And by the way, people won't abuse it because guess what? Somebody could get your deck list and they could literally just send you back, hey, I don't like it. But what you actually, and then they'll get your deck list and your money, right? But what you'll find out is that people actually aren't dicks. and that most people that feel like they got value for something will actually just, pay you.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like that was a big thing for me with like ebooks because I actually thought that I was selling like legit shit products, dude. Like I was selling like fucking like Garbo level like 30-page info products, but I still had my
perfect time to get them
money back guarantee, and the highest return rate I had was on like a total dog shit product that was 4%.
Okay.
And like I thought I was stealing from people with that product. It was so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, I just have like the thought of kind of just like, it feels like I'm stealing from someone when I know that like, I'm not really, because they willingly paid for something. They know exactly what's
Yeah, I'm
there.
gonna hold back
Yeah.
and
It still
heal.
feels like stealing because I know there's a product
hold
that is
back.
basically free.
But that is literally the mindset that keeps people in mediocrity. Is that they don't think that they're the one to branch
Let's
out
touch
and
someone.
do something. They think it should be someone else.
Yep.
Right. Oh well, like someone else is going to be the expert on that. Someone else can create a better deck than me. Someone else can offer this service better. Why? Like why can't you do it? What one man can do, another can do. Always.
Sure. It's just the fact that like, if I can even make a comparable product, then should I
No.
be giving it for free like the other person is? Which I probably shouldn't. Like if I'm actually putting time and effort into it, and people are willing to pay for it. Right?
Yeah, I don't think so. Like, I think that there's something to be said about free content. I think that free content, like, I do I mean, dude, I offer all my best shit for free. I'm not holding anything back on this channel, right? I'm like telling you, like,
Teeny
exactly, like, what to do, right? Like, I don't know if you put a value to like what I told you on your YouTube videos. If you actually do what I said, you will get 5 to 10K views per video, like forever, right? If you actually go do it. If you go back to this spot and go, okay, I'm gonna do that to the thumbnails, I'm gonna do that to the titles, and then I'm gonna do it. And you iterate on this process and you learn from it, that'll happen. What is that worth? I don't know. I give it away for free because again, this is a concept called thank you economy, and also a concept called jab, 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 right hook. These are all Gary Vee concepts. Or it's just easy to explain these marketing concepts in this way, where it's like,
Nice.
if I am very convinced at some point, if I ask for something, if I actually want people to buy something, and that's not to say that I would do, and I would only do that if I felt like I was really providing a lot of value. A shit ton of people would fucking buy it. If I want to come out with like a green tea that I really believe in, that I really like, and I talk about green tea and I drink it every day, a shit ton of people will buy it. If I want to come out with like a guide about like how to go from 0 to hero and build it, and I want to charge for that, I will 100%
5%.
get a fucking shit ton. If I come out right now with like a guide that's like, here's a course right now on everything I've learned, 700 personal development books from the ground up. If you are from the age of 18 to 30 and you want to build your life into something that you want to imagine this to be, here's how you fucking do it. And I would offer it 100% money gap guarantee. And also I'd offer a second thing. I would say anyone that can't afford this course, send me a personal email with why, and I'll send it to you for free if you promise to do it. I'll have those two caveats, and a shitload of people will buy it. I promise you, right? And that's because I've built equity, right? Because I'm giving away my best stuff all the time. Now, I think that there's something to be said about that free content, but also like what the thing that people
Get 'em.
pay for,
Get in
right,
there.
is like a personalized experience. So there's like
Yeah.
you can do a bunch of videos and tell people why like these various different types of black decks operate like specific in this meta. But if you wanted to do, and that might be free content, right? But if you wanted to do a specific guide on how to get from 0 to mythic in arena,
Get him.
that's a value prop that you can charge for, because that's like something that like a person can actually use to succeed at a higher level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense what you're saying about the like you are giving out the free content like with your streaming and your YouTube.
I literally
And that-
sit here every day and give the best knowledge I have. I'm fucking spending hours researching this shit. I talk to the
When
top
you go to
people in the industry on this
campaign,
shit, and I literally
get some
post the fucking
battle
shit for free on
pass
YouTube,
thingy.
and I will continue to do that. Right?
Or
I
the
could fucking,
event.
like, dude, the stuff with Alec Kanajaya, I could literally go to that dude, the Harvard psychiatrist that we talked to, literally go to that dude and be like, hey man, let's build a course together. We'll charge for this shit. Easily do that shit. Right?
Yeah.
But I don't. Fucking post the whole fucking thing on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea of all this free content, but then also saying if you want something more in depth or something that I put time into, like past the free content, then you should pay for that. That makes sense as,
Yeah,
as
a focused
like
course.
a justifiable reason.
Yeah, a focused course, like a focus. So like, if I'm gonna build out 10 videos, or maybe 15 to 20 videos even, several articles and like homework, like you will write homework. So I'll tell you like this, and I don't talk much about like products I'm gonna do like there. I'll tell you one thing I'm going to do like in the future. I am going to make a course that is going to be, I would say, probably 20 to 25 videos, and it's going to be, and each video has an article attached that I write. It's going to be, if you are starting from absolutely nothing, how do you get yourself into the mindset to be successful at something you're passionate about? It's going to be finding that passion. It's going to be locating that passion and utilizing it. And every single thing will have homework that you actually have to input. You have to actually put in that you are going to write. And like you are going to like actually have to do. And that course is going to go through a whole series. I'm going to make it specific to that theme every time. And then if I can, to the extent that I can, I'm going to actually create a community of a specific community, probably on Discord, where people can interact and talk about and share their goals within that. And that will be a thing I do, okay? And that's a structured thematic thing that I will charge for, because I know that people that sign up for it, that transaction of value will be very important, very important. I'm 100% going to do that. That's an example of what I would see. See, the difference is, I can talk all day about like general success principles or and like the best I have about how to do this, but when you structure it together into a single thing, a single entity, right, that a person can follow along with and do, then that will be like the actual thing that will make it successful. Does that make sense?
Like the content you're doing on your stream is very free flowing, like can go any which direction, whereas the structured content is very like, this is what's going to happen, this is what you're going to achieve, this is how I'm going to help you achieve it, and
Yes.
you will achieve it by the end of this.
That's right. Exactly. Yes. And that difference is paid versus free, I think. Because you can't offer something to someone that specific without doing like a sort of structured thing around it. Like you can make one video about like black aggro is like one of the best decks in the current standard meta, right? Like which I think it is. But like you can't really make one video about like how to play black well and how to consider like black an actual like how to make good decisions around like how to like maybe how to build your own black deck from scratch. And like utilize cards to like build a deck that's really good. That might be 4 or 5 focus videos that you put behind a paywall of like a Patreon or something, for example.
Yeah, it's like the difference between, oh, we're gonna play this black aggro deck today versus here's how you play aggro in the grand scheme of the game.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. That's the difference. Very good. Yeah, you got it. That's 100% right.
That knowledge is like really important, being able to actually understand why I'm going to, if I am gonna move forward with like a special paid content like a Patreon or something like that, why the reasons to do it and like what actually to structure it as.
To be clear, I think that you don't need to even think. So I have another piece of advice that might be like a little bit, I don't know if discouraging is the right word, but like I wouldn't think about. So like look at me, right? Like right now, and this is I'm sorry. So this I'm just gonna like stroke my own giant dick right now for a second here, but like here we go, right? Like so I'm a top 0.001% streamer on Twitch, right? Like by my viewership, I have well, like I've obviously like, done what I've been talking about. I've got a C-level background, like all that stuff. CEO, Andy, team, all that shit, right? Am I qualified right now to make a course and charge for it?
8 hours later.
I think so, right? Like if anyone's gonna do it, I think I could. So why haven't I, right? Because I think that the longer that you can go, offering free, valuable content that is the best you have, the better. Because as soon as you introduce a transaction, the game changes a little bit. It's not necessarily bad, but it changes a little bit. And so like I think like you want to think about right now as much as possible just growth, right? Like what can I do? And here's something that I gave advice to Zizarin about, right? And I'll give the same advice to you because I think that Path of Exile, Magic, and Water are kind of like similar categories. I think that you need to become the expert on something. So like with Zizarin, I would really like Zizarin to become the ARPG expert. So when Lost Ark comes out, Diablo 4 comes out, he is the guy that people watch, right? Like when World of Warcraft new expansion comes out, who are you gonna watch?
It's like Asmongold.
Exactly. You thought about it immediately. It's Asmongold, right? You go to Asmon or you go to Soda, maybe, right?
Yeah.
If World of Warcraft comes out with a new expansion, that's where I go. So Asmongold is the person you go to for that content.
That's 4, right?
When I started this stream, my objective was I am the person you go to when shit goes down in the industry. If Courage is moving to fucking YouTube, you better be on my stream because you're gonna get a better take here than you're gonna go through anywhere else. right? If Ninja's moving to Mixer, we had 1,500 concurrent viewers because that was like the biggest thing, right? People know to come here when shit is going down in the industry. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, I will be the person you come to, right? So for Zizarin, I would really like for him, what he could start doing is he could start making YouTube videos about ARPGs, reviewing ARPGs, guys at ARPGs, playing different ARPGs, so that when Diablo 4 comes out, he's the fucking dude. And now his stream skyrockets to 30, 50K viewers, right? And all of a sudden he's the #1 on Twitch. That's how he does it. You can do the same thing with Magic, where it's like you become the fucking expert on certain types of decks, certain types of modes, anticipating Wizards releasing.
So
like, for
max
example,
level
if you
for
want to
the
become an expert on Modern,
Doom Hunter
and 3
base.
months ago, Wizards released the Modern only set, right? And if you were positioned at that time to be the fucking dude for that, right? It would have grown your stream like crazy because people would have come to you for that kind of authority. That's what I think you have to think about. Where do you want to be that expert precisely, and like how do you function and how do you structure that?
Yep, I actually had a little bit beforehand. I was trying to structure myself as like an expert in a specific deck, and it actually grew my stream a good chunk along with my YouTube because I would just play that deck, did it for around like a month.
Yep.
And then I also went to a big Grand Prix, had a reasonable finish, and people were just like, okay, this is the person who knows what's happening. Another person also with my deck list had an even better finish than me. They shouted me out, and everyone was just like, this person knows what he's talking about. Go to him for these deck lists. Like on the Facebook page about the deck, they were talking about me. Like Twitter, they were talking about me, all these things. And that helped me grow like a little bit as well with like just constantly doing YouTube uploads along with Twitch, but people were coming in and asking questions about it. They were going like, when are you going to play this next? Like, what do you think about my deck list? And people were engaging with me a lot about that specific deck that I was playing. And I've almost done that again with a different archetype as well, with people come in and say, look at my deck list, oh, I'm coming for this content. People on Twitter have said, oh, I'm using your deck list, doing great. Like, go watch this guy's stream, and it's like been very, very good as well.
Yes, because you are becoming an authority on something that will always work. Dude, I honestly think that so much of my fucking marketing knowledge came from Batman, dude. Like, the scene where, it was one of my favorite movies of all time, Batman Begins, the scene where Ra's al Ghul walks into the prison cell, and he leans down, and he's like, a man can be tied up, locked away, killed, or disposed of, right? But if you become more than just a man, if you become an idea, then you become something else entirely. A legend, Mr. Wayne. Right? Like, you become the expert on something. You become the idea that it gets embodied into. And it doesn't have to be like a huge grand thing, right? I'm just the expert on shit that happens in the industry. Like, the gaming industry. There's fucking tons of shit going on. Who the fuck knows what's going on? We got, like, elections and shit. There's fucking wars and shit. Like, special forces killing, like, dudes in, like, fucking other countries and shit. I don't know about any of that shit, right? Like, there's oil. There's space. I don't know. Like, there's all kinds of shit I don't know. I'm just here in my thing. And it's like, you know, and then, like, when people ask me, it's like, well, Devin, like, what do you think about, you know, this other thing? I'm like, I don't fucking know. You stay in your lane and that's enough, right? Like, I think people try to go, like, too general. Like, I'm just gonna be a streamer that plays video games. Who fucking cares? What do you do? Well, what's interesting about you that's
politics
different
is like
from,
a full-time job,
of,
or
like, what
political
other people
reporting is a
provide.
full-time job. There's just so much
You can
there.
see that specifically when you see like people who get, let's say they played Overwatch, like except for Moon, who did this amazingly, but people who were playing Overwatch, like Seagull and some other streamers, they were like 10K, 20K viewers, and then they tried to play other games and went down to like 3K, 2K, sometimes less, because it's like, we came here to watch you do this thing. We didn't come here to watch like you do something else that I don't care about.
Well, Moon Moon's an interesting case because do you know what Moon Moon does as a niche better than anybody else?
Well, not personally. I find him very entertaining, so I watch him for that.
Well, you just answer the question. He's funny. He's funny as fuck. So he became. So if you want to watch, that's a niche in itself, though, my man. It's like if you want to watch the funniest fuck guy on Twitch, you go watch Moon Moon. right? Like if you want to watch a guy
just-
that does that, that's who you watch.
I think
like,
Protein's the
comedy in
funniest.
of itself it's a very powerful.
he makes,
it's
like, anything
being funny is one of the most powerful
You
things.
play
you
any
can do.
game and make it
I
funny.
literally took improv classes to become
He
more
literally
funny for this fucking stream, so I could entertain
was
these monkeys
playing
in chat.
Demigod
Like, this is,
and then
it literally
listening
is
to porn in the background.
like it literally is improving upon. Like I think you probably heard me like improv
Making
class.
fun.
I think is one of the
Who
number
does
one
that?
things that you can do to like actually
Yeah, he
literally
deserves more.
improve every aspect of what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've thought
got
about doing
banned from
things
Twitch
like
at
that,
least
but I'm
twice,
I'm not as lazy as most Twitch streamers. I would say I'm a fairly lazy person.
No.
And
Yeah,
struggle
that
to
guy.
do things like, okay, let's do this thing every single day. Surprised I can even do that with Twitch streaming. Like, I've barely
thing.
started doing Twitch streaming every day, and I started going to the gym finally again this month.
Good. Yeah.
Things like that.
Devin should just
But-
marry Moon Moon at this point. I wish I could. Yeah. He wouldn't have me. I'm not bald enough. Not bald enough. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I mean, like, dude, like, there's a whole like other like personal struggle like kind of side to it, and that's whatever. Like, I mean, like, there's obviously like I have some like I probably have some like input in that too, but like there's like tactically though, the thing I'll say is like here's the most encouraging thing I can say about that. Okay.
I hate these things. They need to put this in
I
battle
think
mode.
if you there's a really
No,
cool
no,
quote,
as
really
long as,
inspiring quote, the quote that I think about probably every day. Is if you want to be an anomaly, you have to act like one. And a Twitch streamer, a person that makes money playing video games, is objectively an anomaly. That is not a normal thing. A normal thing is you go out, work at a job, come home, and then you go out and do that again, right?
What is that?
It's extremely difficult to be an anomaly in something. And it reminds me of a story that I used to be in a college class. It was a corporate finance class, and there was a dude that had run the entire sales division for Black & Decker. It's a massive company that does like,
I've heard this one.
they sell tools and shit, like industrial shit. And I went to I don't really talk about my like education, but like I went to like this like really shitty liberal arts college. So, like didn't like really matter. And and this guy's a hardcore motherfucker, right? Like I never got over a C in his class, and it was really hard. Like he just didn't fuck around, didn't allow laptops in his class. It was just a real hardcore type-hitting motherfucker. And he was sitting there one day, like at the beginning of class. He's like, you know what? I wonder when you guys are all gonna turn it on. And like I was like, what does he mean? And he's like, I just think about every single day right now while you're sitting in this class. He's like, it's about like what 1 p.m. on like a Tuesday. He said there's people in Harvard, there's people in Yale, there's people at UCLA, Berkeley, that are sitting here right now, and every one of those people is going to be competing for whatever you want to do. And they're all growing up right now. They're all learning like you, and a lot of them are studying harder. The thing that is going to separate you from them is how hard you choose to work on your craft versus how much you choose to go party and do whatever else. And if you want to be someone exceptional, you are going to have to do what they don't do.
Yeah.
And I think about that every day.
Sure. That makes sense. Like in the sense of like if everyone else is trying to get to the same goal, what's gonna set you apart? What work are you doing towards getting towards that goal that will allow you to achieve it over someone else? Especially when you're directly competing with them in a
I
space
don't
that's
think
like
I'm
Twitch.
doing enough.
Right?
It's my own fault.
You have to really. I understand that this is like a pretty heavy idea, right? Like, but it's like if you're really setting yourself out to be a broadcaster at full time, right? You need to really think about that concept because
Yeah.
there are 3 million broadcasters that want what you want right now
Oh, it's
every month
okay.
on this platform.
Yeah.
7 million now.
So yeah, like
But it's
it
much
does
more.
make sense in the sense that like
old is this?
how am I gonna set myself apart? Literally 3 million other people.
Yeah,
what am
yeah.
I going to do? How could I possibly do that?
Done it
Even
before.
let's say I'm starting my YouTube, but there's still hundreds of thousands of people doing that. how am I gonna set my YouTube channel apart? How am I gonna connect everything together? How am I gonna market myself? How
Yeah,
am I
and that's
gonna-
like a lot of like overwhelming shit. I'm saying, like what you need to do is act. Like you need to
Oh,
go in,
Marauders definitely was annoying.
like install Adobe
God
Spark,
damn.
make
It's
a
like
thumbnail,
something else. I've
and
never
then
even
make your
faced
video,
anything like
and
that
that'll be
before.
the one thing that you do,
Yes.
and then do another thing and another thing. Like, I've had such a fucking uphill battle with exercise that like I feel like this you were mentioning that you like went to the gym and like you started going to the gym a little bit more. The way that I finally started to think about it was like, what the fuck am I gonna do today to actually do something that is physically invigorating, right? And you can think about it the same way in your Twitch stream. Like, what am I gonna do today that moves my brand forward? And if you answer that question, you do that today and tomorrow and every day, you'll be successful, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to think about every day. Hard thing to think
Oh,
about.
dude, it's contrary to our nature, but it's exactly why it's like important for it to, why it's important to think like that, because nobody else does, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, cool, man. Are there any questions you have for me, or anything like you want to talk about specifically?
Not exactly. I guess like there were some people I saw in chat talking about like how would you literally grow from zero to like starting to be successful. There were some of the things I thought about how I always think about like because I have some people in my chat who are, like that are streamers but they're like 5 viewer 10 viewer people. I think how would I start from zero again?
Okay, so real quick, tactically, I think we covered it, okay? So 0
Okay.
to 10, go into other people's streams and talk, and then don't be obnoxious. And, like, if this opportunity comes up and maybe the broadcaster asks about you or whatever, like, hey, yeah, I'm like, trying to start a stream and then I'm kind of messing around, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's
That
like
makes
0 to 10, okay? And then, like, 10 to 50 is like stream in a relevant game category with a high viewer ratio that we talked about earlier in the talk, and that pulls you up and gets you a couple of people from Twitch while simultaneously making YouTube videos that are oriented towards like either guide content or direct content that you want to create in your specific niche that you've
I think
identified.
comedy or
And then, like,
comedy
from
is
there,
a new thing.
like 50 to 100, like 100 to
Zest,
500, like 50
Syntax,
to 100, that's the same thing, and then 100 to like
there's a lot of
100
them
plus
out
is like
there.
beyond the scope of like what we're talking
Danger.
about now. But the answer,
Yeah.
is like YouTube and social media. Yeah.
Yeah. That all makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's tactically how I do it.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened so like at the beginning.
It's
of the
evergreen
conversation
because
that,
like I think about any
actually
of the Jizz
almost
videos.
forgot
and
that we
I
went
could-
over it.
Yeah, no problem. No, I made sure we
You
did
get value
because I
from
thought there's a big,
entertainment.
huge theme of this talk.
you know, watching a game that you already
Yeah.
like you even have the game.
Well,
Good.
Every once in a while, I'll watch like oh, a new Joe video.
Was this a good talk? What do you think?
yeah, I mean, it felt good. Like really all the parts I felt good about, and comfortable. Thought it was going to be a lot more like possibly awkward or me being nervous, but I got
You
into it
did.
pretty well.
You did great. I am so glad that you are the only one to have survived the gauntlet, man. Like, it is really impressive what you're doing. You have a lot of really smart principles in the way that you've thought about this stuff, and I'm excited to see what you do with it.
Thank you
Yeah, man.
very much. Yeah, I'll try my best to get bigger, and hopefully it'll be someone else who breaks the gauntlet.
Yeah, man. Of course. I think you'll. I think you've got nowhere to go but up as long as you start. I mean, do the YouTube, and I'm really excited to see you come back. That's actually your homework. I want to see you do like 3 videos with good thumbnails along the titles. Go back through the VOD and like look at what we talked about on the YouTube, and like do three videos or so with like a good title. And you already have some. Like honestly, like Soul Tie is the best Deck and Pioneer is a good ass title. But like, do the one that we said, which was the or something like this. It doesn't have to be Soul Tie, but like, where the fuck is my notepads? I have so many. 100% win rate Soul Tie Deck Crushes Pioneer full guide, right? Do an hour guide content on that, or like not even like 30 minutes, whatever you want to do. Put a good thumbnail on that bitch and see what happens, and come back and tell us what happens. That's your
Oh yeah,
homework.
for sure.
That's your homework.
Sounds good.
Hell yeah! And I guarantee, dude, it'll be exciting. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
No.
Thank you very much for the talk, Devin. I appreciate being on.
It's an honor, man. That was great to have you. Thank you. All right, dude. Till next time.
Yeah, bye bye.
Later.
What?
truth is, the opportunity is always there. Like, the next video can be your 1 million video, no matter how small you are. This is not true on Twitch, which is one of the reasons I am so big on YouTube, right? Is that, like, on Twitch, you could be a fantastic content creator, I mean, like, literally the funniest guy on earth, and never get discovered.
Why does it keep doing that?
Hi, how you doing?
Dude, I'm doing well, man.
Hell yeah.
I remember now.
Dude, it's good to hear from you, my friend.
Yeah, it's been. We should probably talk more, I think.
Well, we can with this. This is the way that I talk to people, though. I just, like, talk to them on stream. It's easier.
Right.
Yeah, it's exactly the same anyway. Like,
Yeah.
it,
I'm
like,
starting to realize, like, if I want to be friends with people who are streamers, I have to just hang out with them on their stream,
yeah.
which is fine, you know, it's not a problem. What's up, guys? It's me, Jeremy. I am the founder, owner, I guess the head guy at Gaming Curios. Right now, we actually run 12 YouTube channels. We've run as much as 15 in the past. I've uploaded over 3,000 videos on YouTube in my lifetime.
Who's that?
I've been making YouTube videos for about 8 years now.
That sounds
And that's
familiar.
kind of like our main
Gaming
thing.
Curios.
If you've seen any of our channels before, Gaming Curios, we started in League of Legends. We got really big in Overwatch as well. We're doing stuff in Apex Legends, Brawl Stars, and we actually do quite a few channels that aren't under our brand. So there are channels that I don't really talk about to people, but in total we probably at least attempted, I would say, around 30 or 40 channels. But 12 is what we're running right now today.
That's a lot of channels, man.
Why?
That was a good intro too. That was a very YouTube-y intro.
Right, it comes with the profession, I guess.
Yeah, that was a very official. Introduction. Hi, it's me, Gaming Curious.
Well, you said to introduce myself, so.
That was the only official thing we had to do. Yeah.
I learned from you at TwitchCon. Like when I introduce myself, I gotta hype myself up a little bit more, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Like, oh, definitely, especially if you're doing it like in person like that, because like they'll ask themselves like why they care or why do we care, right, or something like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time when you tell someone like, oh yeah, I'm a YouTuber, they assume that you're just like some guy with 200 subscribers with 10 videos or something like that, you know?
It depends who you tell it to. I think if you tell that to like an influencer, they think so. But if you tell that to like a Trader Joe's employee or something, like I tell people at Trader Joe's that I'm a YouTuber because I don't want to bother with like telling them that I'm a Twitch streamer, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're amazing," and I'm like, I literally just told you that I'm a YouTuber. Like that's all I told you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my perspective because I have a lot of people who come up to me and they say, oh yeah, I'm a YouTuber, and I'm like, oh sweet, that's awesome. What's your YouTube channel? And I look them up and they have like 3 videos in the last 5 years, and I'm like,
that actually is what it is. That is what it is because like if you're okay, this is the same thing that happens like if you're a writer, if you're an author, right? MC will come up and go, oh, I'm a writer. And you like you have like a bestseller, right? You're like fuck off, like you know, like well it's the same.
oh yeah,
like,
no, I know all about that. I live in Los Angeles, man. Everyone here is an actor or
exactly.
a filmmaker
Yeah,
somehow.
or an influencer. Yeah, I'm an Instagrammer. It's like you got 400 followers, dude. Like I don't know what's going on. No, that's true. Like
make
for
money off
me,
Instagram,
that would.
too.
Oh, do you want to like? I think that this just applies to every single job you're in because when I was running a company, I got so many people that are like, hey, can I connect with you? I'm a CEO. And I'm like, what are you the CEO of? And they're like, oh, my one-person company in my basement. Yeah, where I like, I sold some lemonade to like a grandma once. And I'm like, God damn it, dude. Like, yeah, that's like, yeah, that's a tilter for anybody in any industry. But it's not, it's like, you're like a real YouTuber. Like that's, well, yeah. You're the literal. What do you mean? I guess you're the literal definition of a real YouTuber. Isn't that like? Don't you make full-time income off of YouTube, right? Easily.
Yeah, I've been doing it full time for I think 5 years now.
I mean, you're a professional YouTuber.
Yeah, I've actually like never really had another job either. Because I started when I was in high school 8 years ago. So
Fuck, that's crazy.
this
That's
is
actually
the only life
crazy.
I know.
This is the only life I know. YouTube life. I didn't choose YouTube life. YouTube life chose me.
Something like that. I'm pretty sure I chose the YouTube.
I
life,
chose
but-
YouTube life. Okay.
God
yeah.
damn.
So you have 3,000 videos or more.
Get it. Get him.
What is
Oh,
what is the
at this
most
point.
successful video you've ever done? I've never asked you this.
Actually, the most successful video we ever did was kind of recent. We uploaded a video called The Evolution of Overwatch.
Okay.
And it was this really cool piece where we just kind of showed the progression of the game and just like how the game developed and progressed, and it like totally blew up. We posted it I think last December,
Holy shit.
and now it's at like 5 million.
Yeah.
That's our most viewed video, I guess. You would consider that the most successable one.
I just
Oh,
had
he's
my
over
most
here on
successful
the
video
AMO.
ever. My last video.
Yeah, I saw,
Yeah.
man. You're making moves.
I
You're
don't-
making
I don't
moves. Your
know-
YouTube's growing, dude.
I
I'm proud
don't
of
know
you.
why. Oh, thank you. That actually means like okay, that's like so cool. Like if you say that, then I'm like, okay, it actually means something. Like, I got a DM from Hector. You know, like Optic Hector,
Yeah.
and he
of
was
course.
like, this is good content. Keep it up. And I
Dude,
was
that's-
like,
dude,
I was
I've
like,
been watching your YouTube channel since you had 300 subscribers.
really?
I have literally seen like all your videos, I think.
Holy shit.
Like I was watching your videos from when you were on CLG and you weren't ever streaming.
Oh, these
And
like
you had like the Mylixia channel, but then you were still uploading on the Devin Nash channel. And
I
it was
had-
like smaller.
I had
but
like
I've been
these like
What was I gonna
weird
Oh, yeah.
personal development videos down here.
do? Settings.
Yeah.
Dude, those videos are fantastic.
They're
Like,
actually-
those videos literally changed my life. Like,
No
they
shit.
actually did.
Holy fuck,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Like there's so many things that I started doing because of those videos, like that I can specifically point out too. Like I started meditating because of those old videos, and it like really improved my life,
Holy shit.
productivity, and it also just like really set me on the path of self-improvement. It was actually my first like exposure to self-improvement content, and now I'm like super into it. It's like probably what I would consider my main hobby.
Yeah, mine too. It's just like
I
sitting and
love it.
listening to podcasts that are like productive, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I was talking to a dude named. It's actually I don't know if he wants to be. He'll tell me if he wants to. He's in chat right now. But like, there's a dude I was talking to last night, and he was like telling me, he's like, yeah, I'm from like a third world, well, not third world, but like second world country where like people don't really give a shit about this. He's like he said the same thing. It's like I sort of was just like, yeah, this guy Paintbrush Hero. He's like, I was sort of introduced into like self-development content through this community, and then I started, and that's like, for me, that's like
understand.
all I do. Like I probably
Okay,
consume,
imps
whether it
with
be like Tim Ferriss, Joe Rogan,
rocket missile.
Jordan Peterson, anybody that is like focused on like self-improvement and psychology, I probably consume that stuff like maybe like 10 or 20 hours a week, easy. Like when I'm walking places, when I'm in the shower, every minute that I can do, I listen to self-improvement content. It's like it just keeps going up. Like your life gets better and better and better as you like absorb the techniques that other people have.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things about learning and self-improvement in general is like once you learn something or some kind of like trick or technique to make your life better, you have that forever,
Yeah.
right? Like if I find something that makes my life like 1% better or saves me an extra 10 minutes a day, or even if it's something small like that, I'm gonna get that benefit for literally the rest of my entire life.
Oh yeah.
And it's just gonna like exponentially build on itself until I become a Superman by the time I'm 80. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's what's so crazy is that the all of this is exponential, right? So like, if you start on a path and you grow yourself, and like in 5 years you'll be so much further along than you were
Yes,
originally.
absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I think by far and away the number one thing that made me a successful YouTuber was the fact that I always like really spent a lot of time trying to learn as much as possible about the platform. Like really everything I know about YouTube was developed over, you know, tons of experimentation, and there were so many videos that I posted with a very specific purpose of like learning something,
Yes.
trying a new thumbnail or a new title style, and over time that developed into like a really in-depth knowledge of the platform, I think.
That's super cool. I try to approach exactly the same thing. Like, I can tell you every video I've done is like a test of some kind. Weirdly enough, like here's one that I can't figure out. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk hours about the meta as time goes on, but like both of my videos that have over 100K views are the same title, The Truth Behind the.
Yeah.
It's
So
super
I
weird.
love this. So I'd love to talk about your Shroud video because that's like the more recent one. I have actually seen these videos, so I think it's like something I can talk about.
Yeah.
I feel like these videos did a really good job of framing the content in a way that makes it really interesting to a potential new viewer.
Get him!
And that's, I think,
In your
something
eye.
that's missed on a lot of people, particularly Twitch streamers that make YouTube videos, is like YouTube, it's really important to sort of describe or I guess market your content to a new audience, right? Because people who watch your YouTube videos are going to watch your YouTube videos kind of no matter what, right? Like me, I'm going to click on every Devin Nash YouTube video and watch it, regardless of what the title is. So it's really important to make your content accessible to new viewers. But the thing is, new viewers don't really care about Devin Nash until they've
Right.
already seen some of your content. And Shroud moving to Mixer, of course, as well as the Optic buyout, they're two like very interesting community events, really popular, really big, you know, just things people are talking about and overall discussing a lot in the community. And I think these two videos, something you did in them that was really cool that I thought,
Ammo.
is you do a really good job of making it seem like there's something in this video that people are not going to get by watching another person's video. Right? Like when you title it The Truth Behind Shroud's Mixer Move, like you could, like really it's just an in-depth analysis of the move and what this feature is going to be like and etc. But when you title it something like that, The Truth Behind Shroud's Mixer Move, it makes it seem like you have some kind of like thing or some kind of secret that you know that nobody else knows. And I feel like that sells the video really well. And as a result, that's why you're getting so many views. And, you know, videos on YouTube will get views if they deserve it.
Yeah.
So really, your video's probably just performing really well in the algorithm, and then it just pops off. Like, I've had videos that got 2 million
Where's
views
the fodder?
in the first week.
There he
you
is.
know? Of course, I've had videos that get 2 million views over 5 years, but sometimes it just pops off because it's just like really interesting video, good content, and it's marketed well.
One of the things you said is like so important is like a lot of people don't think of content that way. They think like the truth is the opportunity is always there. Like the next video
Oh, yeah.
can be your 1 million video, no matter how small you are. This is not true on Twitch, which is one of the reasons I am so
Absolutely, yeah.
big on YouTube, right? Is that like on Twitch, you could be a fantastic content creator. I mean, like literally the funniest guy on earth and never get discovered. Not never, but
Yeah,
like it would be
definitely.
really hard. But on YouTube, that will not happen because if people start to engage with it, the algorithm picks you up.
A lot of people I follow
you
on
could
Twitch, I
literally
follow
delete
from
all of my
YouTube, like
channels,
Protein.
and I would probably be back
Vine
making
Sauce.
a full-time income on YouTube in definitely under 3 months. I could probably do it in under 1 month, honestly.
That's an Andrew Carnegie quote. Have you ever heard that quote?
Maybe that's a hot take. Andrew Carnegie, no.
Yeah, like take away all of my factories and my salesmen, but leave what I know. I'll be back up and running in a fucking month. Yeah, like that's
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. And one of the really interesting things about the Shroud video, like you said, like it appeals to new viewers. 80,000 people, 79,470
How many?
people as of right now are people that are unsubscribed to the channel that watch this video. So like a huge percentage of people.
Only that, wait, I would expect it to be way more. Usually it's like 90 to 95%
Well,
that are not subscribed.
let me
but-
see. Oh, actually, oh, you're right. It is because there's an unknown and there's a not
Yeah,
subscribed.
because the analytics
Yeah.
probably didn't load, so I know the exact analytic you're talking about, and unknown is actually people that are not subscribed to you.
Okay,
I think
then
it's
let me
unknown
add it
is
together.
considered. I think unknown is
Super
considered
heavy,
people who maybe
right?
aren't logged into an account.
Mhm.
I don't know for sure, but it's definitely not people that are subscribed to you. Or that much at least.
103,000 people.
Ammo.
A total. So we're not subscribed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means that, like, that's how many people. Like, holy fuck, dude. when I think about what I would have to do to get 103,000 new people to watch my Twitch channel and engage with it, I can't even imagine it.
Yeah.
It would take so much effort, and the algorithm did everything for me.
Yep.
Like on YouTube, you know what I mean?
SEO, that's really important.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to remember, for every single viewer on Twitch, there is literally 100 viewers on
YouTube. Yeah.
You know, there's 100. Like, imagine
Absolutely.
if you're a Twitch streamer and you could increase your
fodder with
by
micro
100
right.
times. You know, like that
Yeah.
is possible. That is genuinely possible with YouTube.
But it's even more than that because it would be those viewers times whatever exponential value you get as a result
Fodder.
of, because every viewer brings it. It's like ants. Like,
Yeah.
it's like one ant
Definitely.
reports that there's food there, and then like goes back and tells more ants. And if more ants go and
Yeah.
find it's interesting, then more ants come to the point where there's like infinite ants.
Definitely. And actually, so you mentioned that you have a lot of viewers that aren't subscribed to you, and that's kind of normal, right? Especially if you have a video that does really well.
Yeah, I can pull up my analytics.
And
right?
above
Like,
average.
I'll pull 'em up.
But the thing that's always been really interesting to me is that I have realized recently that whether or not someone subscribes to you on YouTube actually literally does not matter at all. If they watch your video all the way through and finish it, it's basically almost as if they subscribe to you, even if they don't
Yep.
actually subscribe to
I
you.
believe that.
Because what's going to happen is after they watch one of your videos all the way through, more of your videos are going to show up in their feed, and your new videos will show up in their feed, and you'll already get put into that person's algorithm without them even subscribing to you. And that's basically why subscribers on YouTube literally doesn't matter, is because when someone watches your video, they are subscribing to you, basically, in terms of how many of your videos are going to get shown to them.
So the problem with that is that I think is one thing I've noticed about the recommended algorithm. You can confirm this or deny it. Like,
Sure.
it will recommend you videos that are based on your early, like your watch history. But let's say you haven't engaged with somebody for
It's
like
the,
a month.
third
Okay.
bypass.
So like I'm subscribed to like Joe Rogan. I'm subscribed to like here's a guy that like does really good like metal music, and like he does like gaming metal music. I might not be like, so his videos after a while of not watching that kind of content will disappear off the recommended feed, but if I'm subscribed to him, I'll see them pop up on my subscriptions feed. So I think overall like
Yeah,
the subscription
no.
is
So
stronger. Yeah.
You're definitely right, but the thing is, most YouTube viewers don't actually use the subscription feed.
Really?
It's really
What?
it's really not that much, like maybe 20% or so.
Holy shit.
The thing is, like,
I'm
YouTube
kinda don't-
and especially
I just search for
particularly
the stuff
getting
I
views on
want.
the homepage is very momentum based, right? Like, if you have a video that does really well, like this has happened to me a lot, right? Where I have
Yeah,
channels
so many channels
that are
subscribe.
posting videos and they're getting maybe 10, 20k views each. And then we have one
it's good
video,
if
one
I, like,
video
find
only that
someone
just
I
pops
haven't
off
watched.
and gets like 500k views.
I watched it a while.
Then all of a sudden, our other videos get promoted way more, and we go from getting 20k
They go
views
up
average to
to
getting like 40k or
750
50k.
channels.
And the momentum just really
I
carries.
count for
But the same also works in
Sorry,
reverse,
now.
right? Where if you have a bunch of videos that do really well, and then you start posting a couple that just like don't really get views, or maybe you're posting Pony Adventure Quest videos and just nobody cares about them because it's a totally different content style for your channel, then it's going to cause the rest of your videos to fall off and get promoted less and less in terms of just the homepage.
Interesting. So when YouTube says that my traffic source is from browse features, what does that mean?
Browse features means homepage, the homepage,
Oh,
and
should
recommended
use this.
videos.
Oh, so that's exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
I think I'm looking at your stream. I think that it says subscribers
It's
is
super
what,
heavy, right?
16%? Because, well, I guess the biggest thing is that the
I
majority of
guess.
your views come from people who aren't subscribed to you, right?
Yeah.
So, like, relying on your subscription feed
Tyrant,
to get
Marauder,
views doesn't really make
Marauder,
sense
Tyrant.
because, for starters, 90% of your viewers aren't even subscribed to you.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really like all about the homepage and the recommended videos. Especially the homepage is where it can like really pop off.
Interesting. Okay. The homepage. So when you say the homepage, like you mean like if it pops up on somebody's actual
Hey.
homepage, which it does based on like search history,
Okay.
or like or like search recommendation history and things like that. And so what you're saying is like if somebody watches
much, yeah.
a video from you all the way through, then they're going to be suggested, especially if someone
Doing
watches
what?
one of my videos, because my videos are fucking 20 minutes long.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
at least, yeah. And I know that's not optimal, but one of the things that I've been doing is, do you know a YouTuber named Captain Sinbad?
I think I've heard the name before.
He's not terribly big, but he had a really good video a couple of days ago called "I've Wasted My Life," and he had a talk in that about
It's all right.
two things, and this is like a self-development concept.
Okay.
He talked,
Ooh, I like
he
it.
called it. It's something that I immediately took a note on. I've never heard it described this way, where it's called motion versus action. Okay, so the idea is, let's say that you sit down and you write out 20 ideas for an article that you want to write, okay, or for a video you want to make. Let's make it relevant to us. So it's like
Sure.
you write down 20 ideas for a video that you want to make. So he would call that motion. And then if you actually sit down and make a video, that's action. And his point is that action is always more valuable than motion. And that there are times when you can use motion, like if you want to like write down your goals or something like that, but that like 99% of people are focusing way too much on motion
I'm straining
instead of
out what
action.
you're saying.
And so with my YouTube channel, I realized that was what I was doing. And so like I started uploading, because if you start thinking about like, oh fuck, like I'm gonna start uploading a couple
I
of
like
like
that.
if I get it in my head and I'm like, what am I gonna do after this trap video? Like obviously the next video that I make is not gonna be nearly this successful. There's no way. And if I get that in my head, then what happens is I start to like do like motion stuff. Like we'll figure out like how to make my videos better. When like the real answer is just to like consistently put videos out there, so you have the opportunity to actually do something. Because action is the only thing that creates results.
Yeah.
And this is true for everything in life, I think.
Yeah, definitely. No, I absolutely agree. I think it's very true. It's especially true for YouTube. Like, I cannot tell you the amount of people I've met in my life who want to be YouTubers, and I talk to them, and I say, okay, cool, so, like, what do you make videos about? And they've just never even uploaded one video.
Yeah.
It's
They're like in their
it's
head,
kind
they're
of-
thinking about it.
It's like a weird paradox. It's like you want to be a YouTuber, but you've never even uploaded a video. Like, how... Like, what are you expecting to
That's all
happen,
you gotta do
really?
when you're
And I think
computer, you
especially
just
on
find
YouTube,
whatever's on sale and then buy a part at a time.
I believe YouTube is very much a skill-based platform. Like, being a YouTuber or being successful on YouTube is kind of like a hard skill that you can learn. It can be taught. You know, it's difficult to learn. Don't get me wrong, but approaching YouTube from this whole perspective of like I have to learn the skill of being a YouTuber, I think is definitely like the best path to success. You know, I uploaded, I think it was probably around 200 videos before I even passed 500 subscribers originally. It took me like 2 years to pass 500 subscribers
That's
initially.
insane. Yeah.
But then eventually, like now, if I deleted all my channels, I could pass 500 subscribers in like, you know, I've done channels where the first video posted on the channel got like 200,000 views.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's like...
It's very much a learning process, you know. It's all about, like, that. The thing is, when you take action, you learn so much better
than if you just plan,
anything
yeah.
else.
And like, it's because the vision of the thing, the
That's
vision
not
of
super
being
heavy.
a YouTuber is
This
the
is.
dopamine hit. It's not the actual process of action. It's the
Two
like
of them.
the brain's fucking weird.
Two Barrett, or
fuck, what
what
did I
are they
listen
called?
to? It
Two.
was, yeah, I listened to like so much stuff like this. I can't
Cyberdemons?
remember what it was. But oh no, this is so we've been
Where's
having a
the
Harvard
fucking
psychiatrist on stream.
fodder? I need
And
ammo.
it's been just a dude that we've been talking about. And I think he understands the brain very well. I don't agree with him on everything, but this is one of the things that I do agree with him on. And, like, one of the things that he was talking about was, he was like, man, the brain is, like, really, really badly, like, trained. In the sense that, like,
Thanks.
the brain will receive all the benefit, like, psychologically, from the feeling of, like, getting things done. Like, has anybody in the chat, like, you've ever, like, just like needed to do something and instead you clean your house? Like I do this all the time. Where it's like I really need to do something
know what you're
important.
talking about.
Yeah, and it's like you're like your brain gets fulfilled by like doing something that doesn't really add value to your circumstances.
There we go.
So it's like I like a lot of times what I used to do when I was like procrastinating really bad is I would write out all my goals. And then I'd be like, fuck yeah. I've written out all my goals. and I understand exactly what I'm going to do. But the net that I actually put into the world was fucking 0. I didn't add anything. You know what I mean? It's like fucking crazy.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely believe that the human brain is very poorly conditioned for modern productivity.
Oh, yeah.
It's just not, like, efficient for modern times, really.
Yeah, we're trained to like fucking run from tigers and shit. It's like
Yeah.
it's like the whole thing is like so bad. Yeah, it's and I constantly think about that, and I think the so this doctor that we're talking to, we have like a meeting with him every Friday on the stream, and like the conclusion we're getting to is like the only way that you can actually beat this is consciousness. This is really the only way. So you absolutely just have to be aware. And yeah, like you have to like actually be able to stop yourself in the moment itself and be like, okay, this is happening. Do I want this? And that's why meditation is so important, because it facilitates that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think also, like, habits are really important. Like, human beings are creatures of habit, you know? I'm sure you've read The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg.
Yep.
Definitely my most favorite book.
Have you
I
read
haven't been
Atomic
reading-
Habits?
So I only started reading in general about a year ago.
Okay, yeah.
Partly because of you, but I haven't read like that many books in general. But that's definitely my most favorite book I read so far. And something that I always come back to in that book is one of the studies that they did that they talked about in that book, where it said 40% of all actions in your life, on average, 40% of the actions in an average human's life are controlled by habits.
I'm surprised it's that low. I would think it would be higher.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
think it would be higher. I guess the first time I read that, I was like, wow, this is crazy. But then when you really think about it, it's like, huh, maybe it could be higher. But
Yeah.
I guess that was like the average, so maybe there's people who have more. For someone like you, it's probably more than 40%.
Dude, reading
I don't know.
reading
Yeah,
is fucking crazy. Like it's actually insane how busted reading is. Even in the current like I kind of like meta of consuming information, and I do this a lot, right? It's like podcasting, audio, video. None of that compares to a book. A book is, especially the ones that like I like to read or suggest, like the New York Times like bestsellers that are like about non-fiction books about self-improvement. That is a dude who sat down for like 5 years and collected everything
give
they
me some
possibly could
fucking
about
fodder
that subject,
again.
distilled it into 200 pages, and then released it. After tons of people peer reviewed it and like did like a ton of work on it. Like books are
Yeah.
fucking busted.
I actually think for me personally, I absorb information better in a video format. Like the majority of my self-improvement content that I consume is watching YouTube videos.
Oh yeah.
And I've realized that I definitely absorb the information better in a YouTube video, but I definitely think reading is really fun. And I usually read for about 30 minutes in the morning. That's kind of like my reading habit. 30 minutes, maybe sometimes an hour if I get really into it. And it's just like a fun way to wake up. And I find that sometimes I don't really absorb or remember the information that well when I'm reading, but other times, I guess it depends like how interesting it is, right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'll read a self-improvement book
from there.
and it's kind of boring and I don't
Yeah.
absorb the information at all. But then other times the book is really interesting or it's on a topic that I really, really think is cool, then I will absorb the information a lot better.
It's hard to make a good book, but when you get one, it's like the comparison is the books, like some of the books that, so there's a couple of books that have like completely fucking changed my life for highly personal reasons. So like the two best books I've ever read of all time are both books I don't recommend to other people. I don't know if they do anything for people.
Okay.
The first one is Siddhartha by Herman Hesse, and that book completely and utterly changed my life, like without any doubt. And like that more than, and even out of the hundreds of, so it's funny, I actually still have a playlist here, which I actually have never brought this up on stream, but I've had this since high school, and it's called Motivational Videos, and it's just videos that are just that.
Oh,
They
I
just
have the same kind of playlist.
Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah. And I update this list all the time, and it's just videos about, and I used to listen to these every single day before school. I would do this. It just goes on and on and on. So I do stuff like that. But like when I read Siddhartha, no, don't do this, chat. Don't write these books down. Ah, fuck. See, this is why I don't usually do these. Because like people will read them like, and then like I promise you, fucking a month from now they'll be like, this book sucks. Like, why did Devin recommend this? And I'm like, fuck you. I didn't recommend it to you. I specifically did it. It's like when I tell you not to play EVE Online, I mean don't play EVE Online. Don't play it. Okay, like yeah. It's like just because because it's one person's dharma, right? And then the best book that I've ever read, the best book that I've ever read in my life was a book called Shantaram, right? And Shantaram is a book about, it's a novel, a true story of a book about a guy who was in a maximum security Australian prison for murdering someone, and he escaped to India. He escaped the true story, all of his true story. He escaped to India, and then he decided to he joined the mob. Like the Indian mob.
Here's
and then he
Marauder.
decided to totally change his life and become a clinician and start a clinic in the slums. And it's his story. It is fucking 1,000 pages long. And like this book from the moment that I started reading it to the end of it was completely encapsulating. But every person I've ever recommended to fucking hated it, right? But the point is, like, a book has the power to move you in a way that I think no other content medium does.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just like individual books are very different from one another.
I love the Hunger
You can
Games.
get really so many different types or styles or different things.
Another one that's like the best self-development book I've ever read is called The Untitled Soul.
Shit.
And I took this book with me to France with one other book called Vagabonding. And just read it on the subway. And this is, I mean, these books, like on Amazon, I'm looking at them, and they do have like unbelievable ratings, like 5,106, like 4.7 stars. They are really unbelievable books, but I don't recommend like a lot of books. One of the things I'm realizing, dude, is like, holy fuck, and this is like back to our YouTube conversation. Look at my fucking age demographic, dude.
This is like 90%, man.
39% 18 to 24, 47.9% 25 to 34, only 8.6% 35 to 44. Like, these motherfuckers are so young, dude. And it's like fucking crazy. I know for a fact that like The Untitled Soul is just not gonna resonate with someone that's 18 to 24. They just don't have enough pain. They don't have enough fucking like. It's not hard enough yet. It's just not hard enough yet, dude. Like that's the problem.
That's probably true. I mean, 'cause look at me, like I probably would fall into that category.
You're pretty young, right? I always forget.
Yeah, I'm 23, so
Holy
I am
fuck.
like 18 to 24 demographic.
Jesus Christ, man, that's fucking insane. See, with you, like when I think about that, I'm like, where are you gonna be when you're 30? Like you're gonna own YouTube, just the whole thing. Cause like you have this mind. That's what's so powerful about the self-improvement mindset. The fact that you have this mindset, like in 7 years, you're already that fucking insane, and then like you haven't even begun your life. Like you're not even fucking a fourth of your life. It's insane. Gender is hilarious. There is a total of 3 females
3.
that watch my YouTube channel, and like,
I feel like that too.
oh really? Okay, that makes me feel better. Like, yeah, I actually like this is the biggest fucking sausage fest, dude. It's high school all over again for me. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Stems and shit.
I can't stop
Set
it.
that up.
Dude, the stuff girls watch on YouTube is actually very fascinating to me.
Yeah. What women? What games women like to play? Good Wars 2 is a good one. So. Games women play. Coach Corey Rain. Yeah, that's a good one. Call of Duty is probably the hardest one to, it's really not easy to play. Overload shield. Alright, where'd I go? Where'd I go? I go over here.
Warning. All armed personnel, the mortally challenged have entered the compound. Evacuation advised.
There's nothing more fun and relaxing than sharing an activity with your significant other. Think about it. We go on movie and dinner dates, so why not share our love for video games? With the amount of games out there, couples of every walk of life can come to appreciate video games. Today we'll be focusing on some of the best games.
Mario Kart. Yeah.
Games even your non-gamer girlfriend will love. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer for more gaming content and ring that bell to become part of our notification squad. Without further ado, here are 10 epic games that will turn even your girlfriend into a gamer.
So that means that
Portal
like
2.
yours too.
One of the most common complaints we hear from non-gamers is the tired old phrase, video games are just shooters where you blow things up. It's so dumb and pointless. Well, in response, we would like to welcome those people who traveled to 2018 from the year 2006. But seriously, video games have come a long way from simple shoot-'em-ups. One of the best ways to introduce these types of people to gaming is through a game built entirely around puzzles and physics, while also featuring a sarcastic AI who just loves to put you down. Trust us, your girlfriend will come to love her instantly. The game series we're talking about is Portal, but more specifically, we're talking about Portal 2. In this amazing sequel to the popular Portal franchise, you and your girlfriend can play co-op and take control of two testing robots, Atlas and Peabody. Together, you navigate through testing chambers and solve puzzles using your own portal guns. Because the puzzles require two people, they can sometimes be a bit more difficult than the regular Portal levels. But then again, you have an extra person to brainstorm ideas with and two extra portals. Portal is a fun and easy to pick up game for the couple who gets more joy from solving problems than shooting things. If you think about it, Portal 2 can be some pretty great couples counseling. The only way to succeed in this game is communication, teamwork, and not murdering the other person by letting them fall into a pit. All the same goals regular counseling aims for. A Night in the Woods. What's
a
a
master
good way
level,
to get
so
your
you
girlfriend
actually
into games
face
if
up
she's
against
not
every
too
enemy.
much into conflict, but loves endearing characters, exploring mystery, and a well-written
Goddamn
story?
world.
Introduce her to A Night in the Woods. This small
Go
indie
ahead.
game came out last year, but as far as visual storytelling and character progression goes, it's top-notch. The story's about a college dropout who returns to her hometown. Once there, she decides to reconnect with her old friends, and then things get a little strange. The story can be very relatable with people who have trouble fitting in, perhaps reminding them of an awkward time in their life. This game is in the same vein as Life is Strange, but without the time travel mechanic. Also, everyone in that game is a real person rather than an animal person. There are still wild animals in A Night in the Woods, though, which really makes you think how the world works, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. The game has a lot of replay value, if not for the different interactions you can have with the characters, than for the sprawling storyline. We won't give away the ending, because we want to leave you and your significant other something to talk about while you're exploring the town of Possum Springs. Pokemon. In Pokemon, you're tasked with catching them all. That can be a daunting task for anyone, but maybe you don't have to go on this journey alone. With the critical acclaim Pokemon receives, it's no wonder couples and families play it. Pokemon may be one of the few franchises capable of bridging the generation gap. On top of getting into the franchise, which are great starting points for any beginner or curious girlfriend, the benefit of Pokemon is that it's largely portable. If she wants to take her DS with her and play while she goes about her day, she can do so easily. Better yet, with the advent of Pokemon Go, you two can run around all day catching AR monsters on your phone. Trust us, it looks a lot better when couples do it as opposed to an individual. Things can get dicey pretty fast. Plus, with the hundreds of adorable and well-designed Pokemon, she might even fall in love with one of them and want to get every available plush and collectible for it. Just make sure it's a good one so you don't end up with a house full of Shuckle merch. No one wants a Shuckle. The game is easy to pick up and extends far beyond the video game, making it the perfect casual game for non-gamers. Stardew Valley. Have you ever had your girlfriend dream about having her own garden or even moving to a farm one day, but then she realizes you two share a tiny one-bedroom apartment in downtown Chicago? Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? Well, it doesn't matter. We have technology, and with technology comes innovations. Stardew Valley is the harvest moon for a new generation of gamers. While it may seem like just another farming simulator, Stardew Valley brings some actual charm and fun back into these micromanaging farming simulators. It gives you the relaxing satisfaction of having a nice farm without having to deal with the utter turmoil and sense of hopelessness a real farm comes with. Packed with content and endless farming fun, Stardew Valley is more than the Farmville your girlfriend is probably used to. Now, the benefits of Stardew Valley are that it's easy to pick up, a wholesome game with a clear goal, and since you don't have to be connected to the internet, she can play it all night and all day long without connection issues. If you thought your girlfriend was addicted to Farmville before, maybe you shouldn't show her Stardew Valley, but we like to think of the positives this game can do for people. Of course, if you play this on PC, be doubly sure that you can even get your machine back if she hasn't already claimed it for herself to spend her entire days and nights growing her digital crops. If not, RIP your computer. Oh, also, Stardew Valley's devs are planning on adding a multiplayer feature sometime in early to mid 2018, so then you can actually play together. League of Legends. Perhaps you're looking at these games and thinking, what if I want to play something more advanced with my bae? Well, first off, it's 2018. Stop using the word bae. And second, have you tried League of Legends? If your girlfriend even has a slight understanding of nerd culture, there's a chance she's already heard of LoL, but if not, no worries. Out of all the MOBAs out there, League has the largest audience appeal so far and the easiest learning curve compared to other games like Dota 2. Smite might be alright, but the third-person angle could be off-putting to some players. And then there's the whole epic shutting down Paragon thing. This game is a 5v5 multiplayer online battle arena, but it doesn't mean you need 5 friends to play. Most couples who play MOBAs usually end up sharing a lane, most likely the ADC support bottom lane. Now, we won't be telling you which role you should play when gaming with your significant other, but simply ask them, would you rather help and heal or get the kills? Communication. It's the key to a happy life and a defeated enemy. In addition to the potential co-op time, the game features well over 100 champions with very unique designs and abilities. There's a champion out there for any player. Who knows, she might end up being a Darius main. Hey, if she gets the kills, there's no reason to complain. Minecraft. Minecraft, oddly enough, shares a lot of common ground with Pokemon in that parents, as well as kids, can enjoy the game. Minecraft has a very simple premise. Build to your heart's content and let your imagination run wild. Now, there are a million ways to play Minecraft, from exploring to playing the story mode to survival, but that's kind of the appeal. You can approach the game however you want. There are no wrong playstyles. If you and your girlfriend want to spend your nights recreating your house on a one-to-one scale in Minecraft, you can do it. It can bring you two closer and get her into other simulators or building games like The Sims or Civilization. But as far as building games go, Minecraft is one of the easiest to get into. Mario Kart. Now, we've shown a lot of games that could be played together to try and introduce non-gamers to video games. So far, we have shown a lot of the co-op games and games where you can share the experience together. But how about we do a little head-to-head? Mario Kart and Mario Party share a lot of similarities, mainly the fact that they're games notorious for ending friendships and starting fights. While there's nothing wrong with a little friendly rivalry, we should try and make the experience as positive as possible if we're introducing our partners to this. As far as racing games go, there are a lot on the market, and most of them require a lot more than a simple button press. In addition, most serious racing games focus a lot on the cars and pander to a lot of car enthusiasts. Now, your girlfriend can be one of those car nuts, but in the event that she isn't, Mario Kart provides a nice casual alternative to racing. Also, think of it this way. It emulates a shared experience. Has she ever gone go-karting before? It's likely that she has at some point in her life, and Mario Kart is the same thing, just with more shells, bombs, banana peels, and power stars. With all of the fun and crazy tracks on top of the Nintendo brand being very recognizable, Mario Kart has a lot to offer for non-gamers and casual gamers alike. Telltale games. Similar to A Night in the Woods, Telltale games are a great way to introduce video games to your non-gamer girlfriend if they do not want something super involved or reliant on aiming and shooting. We decided that rather than picking one of the Telltale games, we figured it would be best to just recommend looking into the studio itself since they have so many properties. Is she a fan of Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead? Well, there's a Telltale game for her. Is she a fan of Batman? Boom! Telltale game. These games emphasize story, characters, and above all, choices. We would make a My Girlfriend is horrible at making choices because she takes forever to choose between dresses joke, but come on, we feel like we're above such jokes. In any case, the interest and genuine reactions you get from new players playing these games can be a very enjoyable experience. One could say Telltale games are more akin to an interactive movie, since the majority of the focus is on the decision-making and watching the results of those choices, rather than any intense game mechanics. So, whether you enjoy The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones, or want to try something fresh like The Wolf Among Us or Guardians of the Galaxy, Telltale games can be a great introduction to the world of video games for non-gamers. Skyrim. This one may seem a bit out of left field, but hear us out. Maybe, just maybe, by the end of this, introducing your girlfriend to Skyrim may not be such a bad idea. What are some common complaints you hear from women entering the gaming world? Their lack of representation in the culture, scantily clad female characters, a load of FPS shooters, and a male-dominated world. Well, throw all that aside and show them the world of the Elder Scrolls, where you can be anyone and anything you put your mind to. These games are known for their amazing level of character customization, to the point where she can make a character that looks just like her, or as close as it can get with the dated engine they use. But why Skyrim in particular, and not Oblivion or Morrowind? Well, to be honest, Skyrim's UI and mechanics are perhaps the easiest to keep track of. Think about it. In Skyrim, they got rid of the weapon and armor repair, and the magic system is much more streamlined. On top of that, Skyrim has so much support behind it. Not only is it coming to the Switch, but it also has a crap ton of DLC on top of the already expansive base game. If she likes it a lot, you two might even try Elder Scrolls Online, which expands into the greater world of Tamriel, but we feel she might just enjoy Skyrim for a good long while. If you're looking for a good, easy-to-pick-up fantasy RPG, Skyrim might be the best one to show non-gamers. Mario Party. Now I know what you're thinking. Mario Party. This is the game known to end years-long friendships. Why on earth would we recommend this? Well, it's really simple, dear viewer. At its core, Mario Party is supposed to be a fun board game video game you and your friends play to have a good time. Because video games are supposed to be fun. If you want to introduce your girlfriend to video games in a more social setting, this would be the game for just that. Does she like board games? Chances are she had to have played at least one in her entire life, and if so, this will be a piece of cake to get into. There are no complex rules and mechanics to learn, and games can last well into the night if you want to keep playing. With so many games to choose from, you really can't go wrong with any of them. Plus, she can choose from some of the most recognizable characters in gaming, like Mario, Toad, Peach, and Luigi. Just remember, the game is meant to be a fun, friendly game and not one that decides the future of your relationship. On the flip side, if you're on the rocks, this is a great way to tell them it's over. When you get a stare on the final turn to win the game, you can pack their bags and end it right there. Boom! Mic drop. And those were some of the most epic games that will turn even your girlfriend into a gamer. What do you think? What's a game that you love to play with your girlfriend? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer for more exciting gaming content. Thanks for watching.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, man. Thanks. Phoenix B. Yeah, I'm just getting the Unmaker.
Last year, the lady I live with, also known as my wife, asked if she could try out one of the games I've been playing. She described it as the one with the cute little ghost guy, and after scrolling through my entire library, I realized she was talking about Hollow Knight. Given the fact that her experience with video games at that point consisted of the occasional race in Mario Kart and a smattering of Crash Bandicoot levels from when she was a kid, I knew with fair confidence that her playing Hollow Knight would go terribly. So obviously I booted it up and set her into the world. of Hallownest. As she played, every moment, regardless of how seemingly insignificant, had a strange sort of intensity to it. For example, in the tutorial there are a set of platforms that the player needs to jump across. The only penalty for falling is a little bit of time, and on my first playthrough I breezed past it and immediately forgot about it. For her, it was intense beyond belief. She wasn't sure what the penalty for falling would be, and she didn't have a full grasp on how to adjust her jump height and distance. Each successful jump felt like a triumph, and after landing, she'd look out at the next platform, searching for the nerve to jump again. Watching her work through this early section and seeing the different ways that she viewed the game got me thinking a lot about the language of video games, and just how much a person's level of video game literacy affects their experience with any given title. I can't really think of a time in my life where I wasn't interested in games, and because of that, there are certain aspects about them that are almost instinctual to me now. And that's because a lot of games use the same ideas and vocabulary in order to get information across to players as quickly as possible. It's why the color red is almost always associated with health, why the A button or its equivalent is typically the command to jump, and why platformers more often than not have players moving from left to right. At this point, I've played enough games where after 5 minutes of trying a new one, I almost always know what to expect, no matter the kind of game. That inherent understanding of how games work and what to expect from them doesn't exist for the lady I live with because she hasn't spent the time learning those things. And this made me wonder, how do people learn the basics of video games? So I decided to run an informal experiment where I'd have her play a handful of titles and see how she approached figuring each one of them out in the hopes of getting a better understanding of how people learn the language of video games. In an effort to not influence how she approached any given title, I didn't give her any advice or instructions. I just watched, silently judging. I had her play through the early sections of 9 games: Super Mario Bros., Shovel Knight, Celeste, Portal, Doom, Skyrim, The Last of Us, Uncharted 2, and so that I could really test the strength of our marriage, Dark Souls. I picked these titles because A, I felt there would be a solid sampling of 3 major types of games, those being 2D platformers, 3D platformers, and first-person shooters/adventures, while also offering a diverse spread of genres and gameplay mechanics, and B, I like them. So, this is how it went. Just kidding, we're still good. With each game, I noticed that there were a vast amount of seemingly basic functions and mechanics that she either didn't fully grasp or know existed. This first came up with Mario 1-1. She figured out the jump easily enough, but never realized she had the ability to dash, making her time with the level painfully hard to watch. There are no in-game instructions on how to dash or do anything else really, so players will only learn about it if they read the instruction manual, figure it out through experimentation, or have another person tell them how it works. As she didn't even know it was something she could do, she never figured it out. For me, it has become second nature to try to sprint in games, whether or not I know it's an option. I just assume it will be and guess the command will probably be the B button or its equivalent. But I only make that assumption because of years of being conditioned to make it. Figuring out the controls for all of the games, whether they were explicitly explained or implicitly taught through level design, was a challenge for her. Part of this stems from her not being all that comfortable with a controller. Anytime a game asked for her to press a certain button, she'd look down at the controller and search for it. One of the most memorable instances of this came up while playing The Last of Us. Early on, there's a prompt on the screen to press L3, which she couldn't find on the controller as there is no button labeled L3. She noticed it was shaped like a circle, so she guessed it might be one of the joysticks. However, she didn't know that it meant to press down on it, so she just sort of moved back and forth until eventually figuring it out. I've certainly played games that do a better job of illustrating how L3 and R3 work, but it is kind of weird that there's pretty much a hidden button on all controllers that new players will have no reason to know exists. Figuring out a game's controls sounds easy, but she essentially not only had to memorize which buttons did what, but also which buttons were where, adding another layer of things to keep track of and making the process a little bit more overwhelming. She typically fared better with games that didn't give too much information to remember. With Dark Souls, after reading 15 or so messages explaining the controls, she said she felt like she was getting too much information too quickly. A lot of the things she learned, most notably the lock-on feature, she forgot about by the time they would actually be useful. On the other side of things, with Shovel Knight, she struggled to get through a few of the early sections because she didn't understand the full scope of her abilities or how to use them, but once she did start to figure things out through experimentation, she ended up remembering the core mechanics better because she witnessed firsthand how useful they could be. So for her at least, giving a memorable use of a mechanic made it stick in her mind a lot clearer. Most of the games I had her play were with a controller, but I did want her to have some experience with mouse and keyboard, so I had her try a few games with a first-person perspective. I thought Portal would be the best place to start, as it doesn't call for quick reflexes and it gives players time to figure things out. Using the keyboard actually proved to be easier for her than the controller, as she uses the keyboard every day and knows where everything is. However, if you've been paying attention to the footage, you've probably noticed that she isn't looking around at all, and that's because she didn't realize she was supposed to use the mouse. In fairness, the instructions at the start explain how to move and how to pick things up, but they do assume that players will just know to use the mouse to look around. Given that she doesn't spend her free time watching me play games on my computer, why would she? I know that a lot of these little issues she ran into in regards to controls and mechanics all seem easy to overcome, and in a lot of ways they are, but they do still act as small barriers to entry for new players. Even when games have detailed explanations for things, it can sometimes be information overload, and it isn't uncommon for people to skip over explanations accidentally or on purpose because they don't feel like reading a bunch of stuff when they just want to beat the shit out of something. A lot of titles seem to assume that players will have at least some familiarity with controls, so some of the more simple explanations are kind of just left out. And I think the way most people end up learning these basic things that they won't figure out without searching on their own is through other people. For example, back to Mario. I don't remember how I learned to sprint in the game, but as I know I would not have read the instruction manual, there's a pretty decent chance that my brother told me how to do it. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of his friends had told him, and so on and so on. Also, the only reason I understand half the things I do in Dark Souls is because I've scoured wikis and message boards on how to get good. Video games are best when they are a communal experience, and a big part of that stems from the sharing of knowledge. Obviously, someone being a backseat gamer can get annoying if they explain how to do everything, but getting assistance when it's needed most can make a game far more enjoyable. It bridges the gap between what games expect players to already know and what they actually do know. Most of the frustration that the lady I live with had while playing boiled down to not being able to figure things out that she didn't know existed, which is something that would have been solved had I not just been a silent observer. Given that I was, though, she found herself continuing to have problems, and one of those is summed up best by her most frequently asked question. When it came to the 2D platformers, navigating wasn't especially difficult for her. Because the options were limited, it was pretty easy for her to figure out that she needed to go right and sometimes up. Celeste and Shovel Knight do have a few optional rooms players can go in, but for the most part, whenever she entered one, she could tell it wasn't the path she wanted to take. Although Shovel Knight does have a side room in the tutorial that heads to the right and seems like the main path despite not being it, and there was a fair amount of disappointment as she realized she did all that work for nothing.
Are you fucking kidding me?
However, for all the 3D games, navigating proved far more difficult. She spent a lot of time wrestling with the camera in third-person games, and she wasn't all that great at moving and looking around at the same time in first-person ones. Due to her not rotating the camera around a ton, she didn't always get a great sense of her surroundings, so she struggled with figuring out where she was and where she was going. Like in Skyrim, she missed the jump from the tower to the house during the tutorial, and it took a while for her to realize that she had fallen back to the spot where she started. Also, because she wasn't good at focusing her camera, she didn't realize she was supposed to be following Hadvar, so she was sort of just strolling along, trying to get out of the city in her own way. Once she did follow him and got into a building, she was more interested in picking up everything she saw instead of moving forward, which actually is fair and how most people play Skyrim. Either way, she wasn't fully sure where to go. Interestingly, after we finished all the games, I brought up the footage of Skyrim and showed her the compass at the top of the screen, and she said that she hadn't noticed it while playing, as she was mostly just focused on what was directly in front of her. The same thing happened with Doom's compass and even the health bars of enemies and bosses in Dark Souls. She typically noticed waypoints on the screen when they showed up, but she didn't know what they were for, so she often ignored them. Players are hit with a lot of information when they play games, and for ones who aren't all that comfortable with the basics, a lot of that information's pushed to the side, acting as another barrier for entry. Another thing that confused her was when progression in a level wasn't entirely linear. Like with Dark Souls, she got confused when the level looped back around on itself, and she made the assumption that she had messed up and gone the wrong way. Most of the games she had played before Dark Souls had typical progression, so finding herself back near where she started felt odd. Even the 3D games that seemed like they might be more straightforward forward had a few things that ended up being confusing for her. For example, in Uncharted 2, what a player can climb is indicated by being colored yellow, but that wasn't obvious to her, so she constantly tried to climb things that just looked like they could be climbed. And then she questioned why she had to take the longer, more roundabout path when there were perfectly good handholds right above her. A similar issue with signaling happened with The Last of Us as well. There's a part where the player has to run through a city to escape, and a gas station explodes, causing street lamps and other things to block the road ahead. My wife noticed a little gap on the sidewalk that was untouched by fire, so she kept trying to run through that to get out. But every time she did, the infected came and killed her. This made her think that the issue wasn't with it being the wrong way to go, but rather with her not being fast enough. So she kept trying that same path over and over before finally finding the right way. With game design, there's often a battle between having a level look realistic and making it easy to navigate. In this example, Naughty Dog tried to make the city feel more natural by not having every path be physically blocked off. And while more experienced players will most likely see the explosion and assume they should go a different way, the game falls short on helping players who don't understand what they're supposed to do. By having the signal be the explosion, but the consequence being an attack by the infected, she learned the wrong lesson. And this sort of thing ended up happening to her a fair amount throughout the process, even with things that had nothing to do with navigation. Sometimes she just interpreted the information the game was giving her in the wrong way, and she found herself The idea that some games teach players how to play simply through gameplay and level design is a pretty common talking point in the video game community. I'm a firm believer that a lot of games do this, and watching her play reaffirmed that thought. For example, in Doom, her initial instinct was to stay as far away from enemies as possible, because she didn't feel all that comfortable with the controls of a first-person shooter. However, once she came across enemies who threw fireballs at her from a distance that did way more damage than anything she could do from that same range, she started to realize that her best bet was to get close to enemies and either beat the crap out of them or use the shotgun. Ultimately, Doom is meant to be played this way. The glory kill system and the handful of weapons that are powerful at close range are included to push a fast-paced, action-packed fighting style. And having one of the first rooms be extremely difficult to beat without playing this way sets the expectation for the rest of the game. It took her a fair bit of banging her head against the wall to get past this room. But once she did, she was better at the core mechanics of the game than when she started. With that said, what I found even more interesting than when she learned the right lessons of how to play a game through gameplay was when she learned the wrong ones. The first instance of this that I noticed happened while playing Mario 1-1. At the beginning of the level, there's a question mark box with a mushroom in it. She had some familiarity with the Mario franchise, so she knew that mushrooms were good to get. However, after hitting the box, she jumped into a different block, causing the mushroom to change directions and go off the left side of the screen, out of reach. She didn't register that she had caused the mushroom to change directions, leading her to the assumption that mushrooms would always end up going to the left. When she got to another block that she suspected held the mushroom, she hit it and immediately moved to the left to grab it before it went off screen, and, well... This was a far less intrusive lesson to get wrong than the ones that came up while she played Celeste and Shovel Knight. The tutorial of Celeste is a pretty simple stage that ends with the player learning how to dash, which is arguably the most important and useful mechanic in the game. The lady I live with interpreted the prompt to mean that the only way to dash was by doing it at an upward angle, pretty much crippling her ability to do screens effectively until after 15 minutes or so when she accidentally dashed horizontally and realized her moveset was wider than she had thought. With Shovel Knight, early on, she died from hitting this bubble. A bag of gold popped out and hovered near it. On her next time through, she jumped on the bubble and the bag at the same time and assumed that both things had damaged her, causing her to think that the bags of gold were an enemy of some sort. So when she came across them after that, she would either try to attack them or actively avoid them. As she wasn't paying terribly close attention to the HUD, she never realized what they actually did. I'm not saying that these things are the faults of the game developers, but it is interesting how easily information on screen can be misunderstood. These sort of things can happen to players of all skill levels, but given her lack of experience, she didn't have much else to go on to challenge the lessons she thought she had learned. I found the disconnect between how she thought games worked and how they actually worked to be pretty intriguing. And as I focused more on those differences, I started to notice a sort of trend with every title she played. That being... When most people talk about what any video game is like, there's often a greater focus on the general actions players can do rather than the limitations that make it possible for the game to function. For example, Mass Effect could be described as a role-playing game where, among other things, players get the opportunity to talk to and form relationships with various characters across the universe. People who play a lot of games will most likely go in understanding that this actually means players will be able to form relationships with a predetermined cast of characters by choosing responses from a set of limited dialogue options. As it turns out, this formula makes for a really great series, but there is a gap between what a game sounds like and what it actually looks like. And I think for people who don't end up playing a lot of games but have to suffer through listening to their friends or partners talk about them, they get a warped perception about what players can do in a title because they don't understand or know the systems that games use in order to give these grand sounding experiences. Where I know to apply a sort of video game logic to any title I play, the lady I live with was always trying to apply real world logic. Like in the Doom tutorial, there's a gore nest that the player needs to destroy. A waypoint marker shows up on it, which when I first played, I knew meant I needed to go up to it and most likely hit a button prompt. When my wife played, she didn't know what the marker meant, so her initial instinct wasn't to walk right up to it. Instead, she noticed while messing around that the red barrels exploded, so she had the idea to try to push one of the barrels towards the nest to blow it up. And this is objectively more interesting than just pressing a button to destroy it, but of course it didn't work. Throughout the various games, a pretty common question she asked was, why can't I do it this way? And my response was, because. The deeper answer is that limitations exist in games because there are only so many potential inputs a title can have, meaning there are a finite number of ways a player can interact with things. If developers tried to program in every possible way a player might think about interacting with something, games would just never come out. I'm used to these limitations. I actually appreciate them in a lot of instances. However, for her, she got frustrated when the ideas she came up with didn't work. Like while scaling the train in Uncharted 2, she reached a point where she wanted to swing from a pipe and through a window. So when she realized she had to take the predetermined path that didn't take much more than pressing left, she felt disappointed because, yeah, her idea was cooler. In Skyrim, as Alduin began attacking the city, she found a spot in a house and figured she'd just wait it out until he left. But due to the scripted nature of this part of the game, that plan didn't work, forcing her to follow the path the game wanted her to follow. In turn, this took away all the tension of this section because she knew she could take as long as she wanted and nothing bad would happen. Hiding in a house isn't that fun of a way to play a game, but her not being able to made it feel like she lost some agency. Her expectations for what she thought she could do in each game were always different than the reality, and I think as she realized that games were more simple than she had first assumed, some of the intrigue about them faded. For the lady I live with, the thing she hated more than anything else about this experiment was having to replay sections of a level over and over again after dying. Had I not told her to keep trying on a handful of the games, she would have stopped far sooner because it was understandably frustrating. With that said, when she did stick with games that frustrated her and ended up beating the parts that she struggled with, she found it exhilarating. I think this trade-off of dealing with frustration so that the excitement of beating something is all that much sweeter is one that people who play a lot of games not only understand but look for. However, trying to pitch that she should spend her free time doing something that actively frustrates her so that the few moments where she succeeds feel glorious is a bit of a tough look. This little test has me questioning how I became interested in video games in the first place. I don't remember how they became such a big part of my life. I don't know how I got to the point where I could look at a compass at the top of a screen and know what to expect from every marker without looking them up. I don't know how I first learned about stamina bars and the various ways to make sure I don't run out of energy. I don't know how I became, fluent in the language of video games. I'm just glad that I learned basics when I was young enough to not care about spending hours on one level. For a better understanding of how inexperienced players approach video games, I need to run a much wider and more complex study that tests in a more robust way than just sitting down to watch my wife play video games a few times. But I did find it interesting to compare how wildly different my approach to games is to hers. And while I definitely don't have enough definitive information to make any sort of legitimate conclusion about how inexperienced players approach games, I do want to say this. In a similar way to how it is harder to learn a language as an adult, it's harder to get into video games after a lifetime of not playing them. And from what I've seen, that seems to have less to do with interest and more to do with struggling to get over the barriers that exist for new players. Like, if you don't know how to read, why would you pick up a book? What I'm getting at is if someone you know who doesn't play games expresses interest in trying one, don't force them to be in an experiment where you give no guidance and mostly just watch them struggle with something that they never learned how to do. Teach them how to read it instead.
Let's look that up. Now you have a very not known at all item.
Fucking get it.
You can use that to like wake things up and break stuff.
Ooh. Don't put that in the video.
This last part. Alright, one toy over there. Nope.
As you may already know, my wife, more famously known as the lady I live with, recently made the mistake of showing interest in one of my hobbies. So, of course, instead of just sitting down and enjoying some time together, I recorded her experience of playing various video games for the first time and broadcasted it to the internet. After watching her play, I began to see video games through a new lens, one unfamiliar with typical game mechanics and conventions. There's a lot about the language of video games that people who play them often take for granted, and witnessing her try to learn that language has taught me a lot about games and gotten me to think about them in new ways. So to continue her video game education and in turn mine, I decided to keep this informal experiment going by having her play what is arguably the most important game of the decade, Minecraft. A large part of Minecraft's success stems from it appealing to a wide audience. It provides players with a massive set of tools and then gives them the space to decide what they want to do with those tools. There is no single right way to play Minecraft. Some people enjoy building a house in a cool location, and others like to make functioning computers. It is the peak of player freedom. Given my wife's positive experience playing Breath of the Wild, I was curious to see how she would approach a game with even more player freedom. As she is a human who lives on Earth, she had heard of Minecraft before this, but aside from recognizing its blocky art style, she didn't actually know anything about it. For this experiment, I considered having her play one of the beta versions, as that's what I'm most familiar with, but I ended up going with the current Java edition of the game, as it offers a few aids that help players better understand certain systems, most notably the recipe book, which shows how to make certain items. She started with survival mode, then moved on to creative, and lastly, we played some co-op together. This gave her some guidance so she could get a broader sense of Minecraft's major elements, while still having some space to discover things on her own. So this is how it went. At the start, I decided not to tell her anything about the game aside from the basic controls. I wanted to see what she would make of it by just being dropped in. And as soon as she set foot in her first world, it became immediately clear to me that despite Minecraft being a game that appeals to people of all ages, it doesn't do much at all to help players who are new to it. On a core level, the randomness of each world makes it so a player's first experience can vary greatly. Someone who starts in the middle of a desert is going to have a far tougher time getting started than someone who gets placed in a lush forest. And that's because major elements of the game are easier to pick up in certain kinds of environments. Unfortunately for my wife, she spawned in a small island with no trees or other landforms in sight, and understandably, she had no idea what to do.
What's the point of the game?
Every other game she's played so far has had a relatively clear objective. Even if it wasn't stated directly, there was often at least an intended path to follow. As she isn't familiar with the idea of a sandbox game, she assumed that there must be some sort of intended objective. Given that the only thing of note on the island were a group of pigs, she figured that they must be the key to progression.
Well, I need to kill a piggy.
She didn't. Not having a clear objective proved pretty frustrating for her because she had no idea how to gauge how well she was doing. Obviously, Minecraft is a game about players setting their own objectives, but her being stuck on an island made it hard to set one because she had no idea what she could even do. There are a lot of things in Minecraft that aren't explained in the game itself, and most players won't figure everything out just through trial and error. However, a few of Minecraft's core mechanics become more clear when the player finds wood. Getting wood unlocks recipes that show how to build some of the most important things in the game, like the crafting table, tools, and weapons. Being stranded on an island absent of wood made it pretty much impossible for her to figure anything out on her own. Nighttime came, and as she had no structure to hide in or weapons to fight with, she spent the entire time getting shot by skeletons and blown up by creepers. So I had her create a new world. This time, she had a better starting location and, due to her experience in the last one, an immediate objective: find some sort of shelter before dark. Through finding wood and getting a little additional help from me, she started to figure out some of the game's basic concepts. Now stocked with useful supplies, she found a spot near a nice-looking cliffside and built a small hut while the sun began to set. While the experience of her first night on the island was a frustrating one, it did teach her an important lesson about how the game works, which led to her falling into the core gameplay loop of survival mode. Build up resources to create a structure during the day, and hide in it at night. Despite her valiant effort, the house she made had some glaring structural flaws, and she found herself once again overwhelmed by monsters. When the sun came back up, she built a more viable hideout, and from that point on, she was able to survive the night with little to no trouble. While I personally enjoy Minecraft's core gameplay loop, her experience highlighted one of the main problems with it. Night kind of sucks.
Not good.
The tension of it coming does give more importance to being productive during the daytime, but failing to build something by dark leads to nearly 10 minutes of guaranteed frustration. And even if the player does get a structure built in time, if they don't have torches, they'll most likely just sit there waiting for daybreak, which is boring. What's worse is that torches are one of the few items that don't get added to the recipe book by just collecting the materials. Instead, for it to be added, the player needs to create a stone pickaxe first. A lot of players will most likely create a stone pickaxe pretty early on, but given how important torches are for exploration and survival, it'd be more beneficial for new players if the recipe book made it clear how to make them just after gathering wood. Obviously, there is always the option to craft things through trial and error, and while I get that making a torch seems intuitive to those familiar with how Minecraft works, for a new player, it really isn't. So during the day, she'd collect and build, and at night she would just wait there. More experienced players would probably
that's what I
use the
used to do.
nighttime to dig a hole and explore underground, but as it took her a while to get torches and her supply of them was fairly limited, she didn't want to go down too far, especially because she didn't know if anything of value would be down there. Around this point, she started having that feeling again of not knowing what the game wanted her to do next. Except this time, she didn't actually care about figuring out what she was supposed to do next, and instead decided to just do the things she enjoyed most.
See, you want me to play this game? The reality is, I'm just gonna build a house the whole time.
Without realizing it, she pretty much perfectly described Minecraft. While not having an objective definitely made things a little more difficult early on, she ended up appreciating that Minecraft didn't have one because it gave her the space to do what she wanted. In the previous experiments, she stuck as closely as possible to the main path, only occasionally straying off of it either by accident or to complete a related task. Here, instead of just following instructions, she actually made a choice of how she wanted to play the game, discarding any notion of what she thought she was supposed to do. Minecraft gave her the freedom to engage with what she liked most. It's a game with a lot of content of varying levels of complexity, meaning there are things for both experienced and inexperienced players to latch onto. And of course, the biggest pull of the game is... While the actual act of building structures came pretty naturally to her, there were a few mechanics of it that took some time for her to get used to, like needing to place blocks on other blocks and not just in the space she wanted them to be. Furthermore, while she's far better at using the mouse now than she was in previous endeavors, she did repeatedly mix up left and right click, leading her to place a lot of blocks that she didn't need to place.
You're gonna have a whole clip where it's like, this is how many times my wife tried to take something away and instead she built it.
Also, given that my wife hasn't played any game before where she could directly manipulate and interact with the environment, it took her a little while to figure out that she could even break and move blocks. But once she did, she immediately recognized the game's potential. After a while, I had her switch over to creative mode so that she could have a little more freedom with what she built. And this is when she went from thinking the game was alright to actively wanting to play more. Her time with creative mode got me to view it in a completely completely different way. In the past, I've always thought of it as the mode you use when you get tired of collecting blocks and just want to build something quickly. But now, I look at it as a mode meant to make the game more accessible to certain players. Creative mode doesn't explain all of its mechanics, most notably how to fly, but Minecraft's core aspect of choosing and placing blocks doesn't need much explanation. And without having to worry about mobs or deal with gathering specific supplies, she could just focus on building. She mentioned that in all the other games she's played for these experiments, she had to constantly juggle different activities and ideas, and that often left her feeling overwhelmed. But with creative mode, she was able to do something that she hasn't done much of while playing video games. Relax. She took in the beautiful, blocky environments and made choices based solely on what she thought would be most fun. It's also worth mentioning that creative mode doesn't have any sort of fail state, and this ended up going a long way for her.
My favorite
Throughout
part!
these experiments,
Well, one
her
of my
least
favorites.
favorite part has been having to replay sections of a level over and over again after
It's up
dying.
there.
Losing progress can be disheartening for everyone, but it is especially difficult for players who aren't confident that they'll be able to do the section again. She'd often get frustrated as things ramped up in difficulty and ask something along the lines of,
How many times are you gonna make me do this?
Until you beat it.
Beat it?
but with Minecraft, hours would pass and she would barely notice. Her progression was never entirely reset, and that helped her enjoy the game a lot more. Even survival
Oh, yeah,
mode
that's
handles
so
its
cool.
fail states in a way that she found less frustrating than other games. Dying interrupted her progression, but it didn't entirely erase it. She could always recover her items, and the things she built stayed intact. She found dying annoying, but far more manageable. Obviously, traditional fail states aren't going anywhere, and they shouldn't, as they can offer a good source of tension in certain games, but a system more like this can definitely help inexperienced players. I also think having various modes that
I wish
only
you could play
focus on a
as a,
specific mechanic can go a
Saturday.
long way for helping new players get adjusted. A mode like Creative that takes away some of the more gamey elements of survival can give players the space they need to figure things out. And it definitely led to her enjoying the game way more. After she built stuff for 2 hours longer than I expected her to, I wanted to try one last thing and have the two of us play together. And while doing that, I realized something fundamental about Minecraft. At its core, it's a game. After starting a world together, we jumped right into the typical survival gameplay loop. Find shelter, don't die. Things were a lot less daunting for her with my assistance, leading to a night cycle that wasn't entirely frustrating. Together, we were able to gather a bunch of supplies to make a suitable base, and also actually explore during night. This gave her the chance to focus primarily on her favorite aspect, while still dealing with some of the tense and exciting elements of survival. It was kind of the best of both worlds. I gave her bits of information as things became relevant, I helped fight against the various threats, and I introduced her to new aspects of the game that I thought might interest her. I shared the knowledge I had gained from my experiences, and I think this is kind of the way Minecraft is meant to be played. It is meant to be learned from someone else. Back when I first got into it in the days of the beta, I didn't figure out most things on my own. Before ever even actually buying it, I watched a handful of videos from a series called X's Adventures in Minecraft where I learned a lot of the basics. I knew what to expect going in because someone who I didn't even actually know taught me. Once I got more into playing it myself, I dove deep into the Minecraft wiki and tried to learn as much as I could. Back then, there were even less in-game systems to help players figure stuff out, so it was the natural path to learning the game. And I want to be clear that I don't hold anything against Mojang for their game being designed in this way. Minecraft started as a tiny indie title that gained traction because of its unique ideas. The developers weren't trying to design a massive hit, they were just trying to make an interesting game. And they succeeded. At the time, there wasn't really anything like Minecraft. It put every player into the position of being inexperienced. And for people who are used to fully understanding games, there's something exciting about that feeling. In a weird way, having the main mode not be all that accessible made it so that Minecraft had to be a game that was shared. I know certain versions of it have a tutorial world meant to teach players the basics of crafting, but that isn't how most people learned about the inner workings of Minecraft. Most people learn through friends, through videos, and through discussion boards. The game itself relied on sharing experiences and knowledge, and it grew into something that people enjoyed talking about almost as much as they enjoyed playing. A player's fort instead of a hollowed out tree isn't truly complete until it's shown to at least one other person. Minecraft came out at a time where people had more places to share their experiences than ever, and that has led to it becoming one of the most popular games ever made. Of all the titles my wife has played for these informal experiments, Minecraft is the first that she has actively wanted to continue playing. We've even had conversations between play sessions about what to build the next time we jump in, which is new territory for her, as typically when she's done playing a game, she never brings it up again. It definitely took a while to get over some of the game's barriers, like not having an objective, but once she did, she found joy in having the freedom to set her own goals. Through these experiments, I found that high-pressure situations often lead to a fair bit of frustration for her, so to be dropped into a game with relatively low stakes and a wealth of time and space to figure things out, she was able to relax while playing. Also, she has always loved the idea of designing her own house, so it gave her the chance to incorporate her personal interests into the game itself, making things much more engaging for her. In these videos, I've talked a lot about how important it is for those who are familiar with games to be willing to teach those who aren't. And Minecraft seems to be a title expressly designed around that philosophy. I don't think that survival mode is the most complicated thing in the world, but a lot of aspects go unexplained, so having someone around to be a guide goes a long way. Of course, designers shouldn't intentionally make their games confusing so that players will have to rely on outside sources, but that is part of why Minecraft became the behemoth it is today. It is a game that is made better by sharing experiences and information with others. As cheesy as it is to say, it has brought people together. When I think of Minecraft, my memories of it aren't tied to playing alone. They're tied to the countless videos I watched of other people's adventures and creations. They're tied to the hours upon hours my college roommate and I spent building everything from a castle to a flying ship. And now they're tied to showing it to my wife for the first time, and watching her go from being entirely confused with what she was supposed to do to being engaged with the game in a way she never has been before.
I didn't think we were going to get new information regarding the DLC for Doom Eternal this soon, but I'll still welcome it anyway. One of the main criticisms that Doom 2016 had was that it didn't have any type of campaign DLC, and having information about the upcoming DLC this soon tells me that we might get this continuation of the campaign very soon. If you bought the deluxe edition for Doom Eternal, you will get the first 2 DLCs for the game for free, and if you didn't, well, the year 1 pass for the game is on sale on Steam right now, so if you are a PC player, go snatch it. It's like 20 bucks. In today's video, we're going to talk about all the information that has been revealed for the Eternal DLC, try to figure out what the story is going to be about, which is actually very easy to do, and just do a little bit of speculation on the new content that we're going to get. 70% of the people that watch my videos daily are not subscribed, so if you enjoy the videos I produce and want to know everything about Doom Eternal, consider subscribing and leave a like. Thanks for the support and enjoy the videos, buttons.
Like, he basically broke the whole cycle. Because the con maker is like an AI, right?
Nothing but a usurper.
It's a shame that we didn't get the April's Twitch Prime loot for the game, but look at this! He has a mullet and a dad bod. I'm definitely going to be rocking this skin when it comes out in May. Talking about Twitch, I stream 4 days a week, so go follow me there. twitch.tv/midnightspotting. Now, let's get into the juicy stuff of this video. First up, we get this description about the upcoming DLC. The Slayer's legend grows. Your victory over Hell's armies pulled humanity back from the edge of extinction, but it came at a cost. An imbalance of power in the heavens requires a true ruler of this universe to rise and set things right. Wage war across never-before-seen realms of the Doom universe, fight against new demons, and wield new abilities in your never-ending battle against the forces of evil. against all the evil that hell can conjure. We also get these two new concept illustrations of the locations and realms that we're going to discover on this DLC. One is set on a refinery looking factory on the ocean, and the other one seems to be placed on a post-apocalyptic Urdak. Let me remind you that because of what we did in the events of Doom Eternal, and by that I mean us invading Urdak through the Urgent Factory on Hell, the demons are now able to enter Urdak as they please. In the lore of Doom, the Sixth Seal prohibited both the demons and the Makers from invading the mortal realm and invading one another. Now that that is broken and that the Khan Maker is no more, the demons of hell can pass through the gate.
Who do you think I should raid? Anyone? Someone with around 5 to 10. That would help them out.
That literally sounded like a phone vibrating.
Yeah, Luna Wolf. Make sure I spell it right. Lunaw0.
That person, by drinking that with no exercise, they turn into some scabish. Where's the loose skin? Prove it.
You want no
What is it? I'm not some witch, I promise. Ever since I was a little girl, they've liked this place. I believe they're up there tonight, right now.
Did you see it? Did it cross over?
I've been waiting my whole life for this.
Get in! It's outside of town!
There's something in the sky.